Okay, cool. We there?
Close, but the world feels bright. Neon lights flicker, we own the night. Sipping on courage while the smoke ascends. Grow variety show where reality bends. Pour another round, watch the shadows sway. In the haze of smoke, we lose the gray. Heavily drinking, heavily smoking. We know this is paradise at the Grow variety show. Sparkle bright, pouring in the liquid gold till the morning light. In the haze of green, life feels so right. Heavily drinking, heavenly smoking so high. In the silent whispers of the fallen ash, time stands still in this lightning flash. Glowing dreams like vines in the glow, crafting legends at the Go Variety Show. Raise your glass high, feel the bass thump. In the smoky realm, let your heart jump. Heavily drinking, heavenly smoking. Yeah, we flow in the screen utopia where the good vibes. Grow vibes grow. Grow vibes grow. Vibes grow.
Drinking like that flame in a foggy cloud, no need for shame.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Do this better, boy.
Don't be such a square. Everybody who's anybody drinks.
Smoke herb to the haze, smoke haze to the cheese, smoke cheese to the kush, smoke kush to the sour diesel, and I ain't feeling anything. Chief, I smoke herb to the haze.
How are we supposed to follow that?
Haze to the cheese, smoke cheese to the kush, smoke kush to the sour diesel.
Oh my God, stepped on a bee.
And I ain't feeling anything. Chief, I smoke herb to the haze, smoke haze to the cheese, smoke cheese to the kush, smoke kush to the sour diesel, and I ain't feeling anything.
Brutal Monkey is right. All the uploading takes hours.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
And now,
Impressive. Most impressive.
Welcome to another Sauced Up Sunday. How you doing out there, Steven? Glad you up. And Adam, thank you very much. This is episode number 47, I believe, approaching 1 year of live streaming the Sauced Up Sunday. We are on YouTube, Kick, Rumble, and Twitch. Broke 2 pairs of headphones this morning, but I am amped. Cheers to all my brewskis and fellow Cannabisians out there. A little heavily drinking and heavily smoking. Been a crazy week out there, baby. I'm just glad I get to chill and enjoy a relaxing time in the garden, keeping my blood pressure down. And today we are going to be talking about breeding for seed. I got a couple clips from Future Cannabis Project with AK Bean Brains, Boston Bob. Pretty interesting discussion on going towards more seed production, their views on male-female breeding and fem-only breeding. How to make your own feminized seeds. I got a video on that, so we're going to check that out. And then also we're going to go into what epigenetic breeding with seeds. So taking the information you got from the parent plants and transferring that into the seed for their offspring to respond and I guess grow in the same sense that the parents did, I guess acclimated to the environment, the soil, temperature, and transferring that into the offspring. We're going to look at that too. Then we are going to check out the status of cannabis being rescheduled federally. Then end on a good note. Let me get the chat up here. I see people chatting away and I ain't even paying attention. Hello. Oh. Great topic? Is that what that's what I said? You've been harvesting seeds for days. Yeah, you can harvest forever. And gee, you get so many from male to female breeding. But from what I'm understanding, I've never tried myself. I do have the tools to do it. Where the hell did I put the crap? But I'm going to try to make some, silver thiosulfate in order to be able to reverse female plants to get them to create pollen and pollinate themselves. But I hear you could get as low as like, say, 3 to 20 seeds, whereas a male to female breeding would be, 1,000 seeds or whatever, what we're used to. We can't get rid of these seeds. But I think that's appropriate for the season. We're getting to June 21st, growing outdoors. That's basically the longest day. And then after that, every 2 minutes of sunlight is being lost a day. And around July, I believe 11th through 14th, flowering starts outdoors. That's where you're going to get the 3 weeks of stretching and transfer the nutrients from a more vegetative, height growth thing more into a phosphorus and potassium seed production, flower production, nutrient regimen. Sorry about that. The drinks is getting to me already. But I also have an article. Unfortunately, I gotta read. Sorry. I couldn't avoid it. But it's from Khalifa Genetics, and that talks about just the different breeding styles, so we're familiar with everything that we're going to go into. So I guess I'll go ahead and start us out. Everyone's checked in, I believe. Everyone's here in the party. Yeah, I haven't made feminized seeds, but this video is very thorough. I forget. High on Homegrown, I want to say, is the channel. I really appreciate his videos. It's mostly done with voiceover, but he is very thorough in his explanation of things, and he also shows you a lot of details up close. He's really good. I believe we watched this video before, like maybe the 4th episode of Sauced Up Sunday, but it's always nice to revisit it. I kept it in the roster because I'm going to learn from it. So let's go ahead and try and be fair. Oh, I'll keep the music in this one. So let me go over, keep the music in the next screen we about to go into. Just as, like I said, it's going to be reading. I hope you drink your Wheaties. Smoke your Wheaties. I should say that. That's probably more appropriate. But I hope you're doing all right out there. And I guess my question of the stream is, what is your most, enjoyable pleasurable time smoking, where you had the most fun and you enjoyed the people you were around smoking? For me, I was thinking about probably the best time I really had smoking was actually in high school. A couple guys I went to school with, like the whole entire time of school, they went to a friend's of their house, probably like 5 miles away from high school, and we were smoking inside of a tent. It was probably like 8 of us. We put up for like 2 dubs that were popping out the bag, baby. But we probably smoked like 8 blunts, like fat blunts in there, and it was just such a relaxing, chill, fun environment, all about smoking. No animosity. When somebody tried to smoke a cigarette up in the tent, I was like, hell no, get out the tent. A lot of people were getting done through the whole event of the blunt cipher, but that was probably my most fun smoking. People, I guess we were playing with toys and now we smoking blunts together and like we grown adults. That was probably the most memorable and enjoyable time I did have smoking. There have been some that have stood out, but maybe the topic of conversation made it not as enjoyable. Probably who I was with, whatever, depending. But I definitely know that time in high school, the world was still free and it was full of wonder still. And I really enjoyed that time. People I didn't think I'd ever get a chance to see them in that light. And I did. That was fun. So where was that at? 21-minute mark? Oh shit, I dropped my freaking pen. My fault. Yeah, hold on one moment. Oh no, I got it back. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to get these timestamps so I can make more clips. I don't really clip the live streams as much as I need to. And I just want to make sure I get that content out there. I'm so close to getting to my watch time to get the monetization, and let's see what happens. But let me go ahead and read. Let's go ahead into this video. So breeding techniques used by cannabis seed banks. me. And this is, like I said, from Khalifa Genetics. I went to the website and basically scuffed this information. So to develop unique strains of cannabis seed banks use several breeding techniques. Each technique aims to select and enhance the desired characteristics of the cannabis plant, such as potency, flavor, or growth rate. Let's look into some of the primary techniques used by these seed banks. Okay. Selective breeding. Selective breeding is one of the most common techniques used by seed banks. It involves selecting 2 parent plants with specific desired traits and cross-pollinating them to produce offspring that inhibit those traits. For example, if one plant has high THC levels and the other has a fruity aroma, the breeder will cross these 2 to create a strain that combines both the high THC and the berry flavor. Obviously, this process can take several generations, as breeders need to stabilize the strain to ensure its offspring consistently express the desired traits. Selective breeding is a powerful method to enhance qualities of cannabis plants, from their potency to their flavor profile. And also growth structure. Let's not forget to mention that. Growth structure, bud density, color. It's a bunch of different things that go on within that. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Mr. Pheno Hunter, hell yeah. How you doing there? So let me see, Steven. I enjoyed smoking off a Coke can with some friends as kids behind a gas station. Okay, that sounds half-bakish. But yeah, still being young, still being free, like, hey, guess what I got? Definitely have smoked out a Coke can before. What did we used to buy? Aluminum foil and big pens. And like just use the big pen, I guess, as the stem of the pipe and shape the aluminum foil into being the bowl and smoking out of 2 liters. Yeah, I'm sure we smoked out of cans before. We didn't have a 2 liter in the foils and we just had a Coke can and used it. Those were the good old days. Life was simple back then. Okay, so Stephen, you learn from Rasta Jeff, after you've pollinated, flip back to 18.6. And I guess that will get the growth of the seeds to be a lot faster, and they'll actually be 100% ripe at the end instead of a chance of during a normal harvest, even if you give it an extra week. There's a good chance that, say, like 20% of the seeds will still be immature and they're usable. But so, okay, you learned that from Rasta Jeff. Thank you. Mr. Pheno Hunter. Yeah, the whole Coke can bowl. And what else did we do besides like the 2-liter using that as a bong? It was like Crystal Pepsi was out back then. They liked smoking Crystal Pepsi, like clear Pepsi. That was popular for, what, like 91, 92, something like that. What else did we kind of do? We didn't do the orange or the apple bowl, but definitely the Coke can. That's old faithful for a lot of people. I think realistically, most of my friends, when I started smoking, they had older brothers and they were already smoking like Philly blunts. Then I guess probably a couple of months after that, Cypress Hill signified it with the Philly Blunts t-shirt, and that's like everybody went after Philly Blunts. My bad, let me get back into reading. I'm sorry. I got too excited. Okay, back crossing. So selective breeding, basically that would be like Fenial generations, F1s, F2s, F3s. That is to try to progress and make sure the mixture is exactly what you want. Back crossing is when you have actually found the mix you want and you bring the offspring back to the parent plant to lock in the traits of the parent that you're looking for. If one of them, the example they gave was the fruity one, let's say that's A, and the THC is B. Once you get the F1 generation, sorry, I was looking at something else. Once you get the offspring where you want it to be, you'll back cross that back to the parent, whether you want to reinforce the fruity flavor or whether you want to reinforce the THC flavor. That's the parent that you'll want to back cross it to reinforce the desired trait you're going for. So back crossing is another breeding technique used to stabilize desired traits in the cannabis strain. It involves crossing an offspring with one of its parents to reinforce specific characteristics. For instance, if a breeder wants to enhance the aroma of a strain, then they might make a plant and take it to a particularly strong aroma and back cross it to that parent with that same trait. Think something I just explained, but back crossing is to lock in desired traits. F1s, F2s, Fenial generations is to discover the desired traits, enhance them, morph them into something that you want, and then you back cross it to kind of stabilize exactly where you're at and the stage that you're in. And I'm not explaining that well. Okay. You got, strawberry and you got banana. Once you breed them together and the offspring goes, maybe you're leaning towards, say, more banana. Once you find the plant that you're going for, you'd want to back cross that to the banana plant. If you're going for a more strawberry flavor, once you find the desired mix in the offspring that you're looking for, you would take the offspring and back cross it to the strawberry parent plant to reinforce that strawberry flavor. Depending on what you're going for is the parent that you're going to want to back cross the plant to. Think that was better. Yeah, I felt more reporter-ish with that. Well, chat for move on. Okay, so hold on. Now okay, so Stephen, you're harvesting BX2s. Okay, Mr. Pheno Hunter. You can get the same results if you pollinate by week 3, in my experience. Week 3 of flower, but if you pollinate by week 3, you should get the same results of harvest. Hold on, I think I missed something here. Hold on, I see a re-veg up in here. Faster growth. I didn't even notice the seeds are larger. Okay, that technique actually says that. Okay, faster growth, and I've noticed The 18 and 6 life cycle I'm figuring you're talking about is faster growth, and I've noticed that the seeds are larger. That technique actually saved my skunk. Okay, cool. That's cool. Sheesh. Found her during an open pollination and was able to re-veg her and produce healthy seeds. Dang, okay. Now I'm harvesting BX2s. Wow. That is cool. And yeah, Rasta Jeff from the Grow Your Heart Pod. I guess it's on Spotify and all that crap. I don't know if it's on YouTube. I definitely see clips of it, but I don't ever really see the entire show of the Grow Your Heart podcast. 3 in flower is a sweet spot to pollinate. Just my opinion. Okay. So just your opinion, experience, and I totally believe it. I mean, I guess it would have to be somewhere in flower for the Cadillac fifth to catch the pollen. But if it's pollinated, say, by week 3, week 2, week 3, let's just say, and it's an 8-week strain, do you harvest it week 9, week 10? Do you give it like an extra week for the seeds to ripen, extra 2 weeks? Or you can just harvest at normal time? Because I've noticed with smaller plants, it's really no difference. I wouldn't even know they're pollinated half the time. I get a lot of, I guess, self-pollination, sneak attacks, and they'll pollinate themselves. I'll never even know, and the seeds will be fine. But I've noticed when I do it outdoors and I have larger plants, I'll get a lot of preemies. I'll get a lot of premature ones. All right, so hold on. Okay, cool. So hybrid breeding. Hey, you gotta go back a little something, champ. Okay, the development of hybrid strains is one of the reasons behind the incredible diversity of cannabis available today. I disagree. I think it's kind of bottlenecked. I think we've talked about cannabis being bottlenecked. That's why there's this big push to go back in time and get like land-raised sativas and things like that. Because everything seems to be like a derivative of OG now. Okay, so hybrid breeding involves crossing 2 different strains, usually an indica and sativa, to create a new strain that has the best qualities of both parents. Okay. Now, I would definitely agree with that. Everything that we know of has basically got that combination in some parts. Maybe it's 2 parts sativa, 1 part indica. But, you know, skunk ones, the purple haze, that's where we get all of this crap from. The sativa and indica hybrid, Northern Lights. Let me see here. Alejandro, how you doing? Cheers, Alejandro. We were just talking about breeding some seeds. You give it 6 to 8 weeks to let the seeds mature. Okay, so week 3, and you give it like 6 to 8 weeks. That's fair. You know, it seems like an extra 2 weeks, maybe I'll say, to let everything ripen up and finish. And that's cool. And I don't mind the lethargic weed that much. A lot of the stuff I smoke is sativas, and it can be racy, especially in the beginning of the harvest. But once things have cured over, 6-8 months, it seems to be less racy. But I could go for something that's not as mind-pumpy, uplifting. But yeah, you're going for seed too. I'm just trying to get a little bit of both. I'm trying to get the seeds, and I'm trying to keep the weed to be smokable. But there's a lot of people that don't give a crap. They'll just straight rub bud on a grate just to get the seeds out. You flip the females a week before the male. I can go for that, because it seems to me that the males is like ready to go the whole time. That is in a way how I noticed that I do have a male. This is anecdotal. This is not scientific. But I have started to notice, when I'm like, dang, this plant's really big. Oh, this plant's really big. Oh, that's probably a male. That's why it's so big and outgrowing the rest of them. It's ready to go and like, boom, dust shower everybody. But that's cool. That's good to know. That's very important. Seed preservation, strain preservation. I mean, this is your happiness, but eventually it will be the world's happiness at some point. Watch a couple of interviews with DJ Short. Okay, you watch a couple of interviews with DJ Short. He keeps going on about how he prefers to smoke seeded bud. Says it's more potent. that's I from what I understand, that's almost scientifically impossible. And I honestly, I think I have noticed a difference, and maybe it's just placebo in my mind. I will admit that. Maybe it's just me thinking, yeah, it's the right way, so yeah, it is better. But so when I did the strawberry haze or whatever, the strawberry haze and the OG Kush, the original dieselberry strain, when I got those seeds, I didn't pollinate those. And I thought they were, the first batch I didn't pollinate. Thought it was really good. The next batch I seeded so I can keep the generations going. Then the next batch I didn't seed again. And I definitely thought the seeded stuff was more expressive. I'm not necessarily going to say it was more potent, because I was pulling out a lot of different phenotypes. I noticed some of it was like extremely indica, some of it was extremely sativa. The most consistent one seemed to be right in the middle, and it was neither one. It was like 50-50. I was saying 80-20, 80-20, and 50-50. That's how I was labeling the three different phenotypes. But from having both versions, I thought that the stuff without seeds had more flavor. Maybe not necessarily more potency, but the high lasted a long time. I did notice. Now, you know, I wasn't taking notes on all of this stuff, so I can't sit here and try and act like it's the gospel or science or anything, but just in my mind, the unseeded stuff, the Sensimilia, was way better. And from what I understand, listening to the description of it, that once pollen hits the plant, it shuts down flower production and it goes right into seed production. So that would tell me just logically that the concentration is on the seeds. That's where all the potency is going to be, like going into seed vigor, I would say, more so than anything else. So when you pop the seed, that's ready to pop. Versus, yeah, let me go ahead and get these dude a couple more percentages of THC and some more nuance and flavor. So I get DJ Short saying that. I'm not knocking the guy, and everything is a preference anyway, but it seems like that's counterintuitive. Yeah, I think the cedar stuff has less flavor and probably has to be less potent. I would think if we're building a car, and, you know, I guess we build a frame and we get the tires on, then we just stop. And then we go on to something else, and something else, I guess, finishes the car. I don't know what that would be, but that's the seed part. I don't think it would be as good as we put all our time into starting the car from frame to finish and painting it and all that and driving it. I don't think that would be as good. Just what you concentrate your energy on. The same thing, I guess, lollipopping, the same way. That'll prove it. That if we strip a lot of the plant off, you are forced to have to put your production into these parts, which makes it overall better versus leaving it and you end up with all different buds of different size. So the concentration of energy, I think, would make a huge difference. If you are going for seed, I would want all of that energy and all of your effort to go into making the best seeds you can. And for flower, yeah, I wouldn't want anything to molest it or bother it. And you just straight go into like resin production, flavor, THC, things like that. But preference, like I can't say his preference is wrong. It just doesn't seem correct to me. That seems, counterintuitive. I think I said that. Okay, so let me get this. Not gonna lie, I smoked some blueberry muffins and truffles, and that was literally some of the most potent weed I've smoked in a long time. And it had seeds. Okay, I got it from a buddy. Okay, I think you were telling us that last week, Alejandro. So it had seeds, and it was some. I think it can. So shoot, imagine what it would be without the seeds. Is how I think of it. Okay, so that's interesting. A grow buddy gave me a blueberry muffin cut. Oh, she's in the garden growing fast. Okay, I think Alejandro was saying that, like, he's gotten some real good results out of the blueberry muffins and truffles that he had. It had seeds and it was some of the most potent stuff. Okay, yeah, I think it still can have potency, but I don't think it's as good as it could be. It's not the best final product. Now, I don't know the nuances of it. What's the difference between 99% and 95%, or 91% and 98%? But that is good to know. That's interesting. That is interesting. And so I don't think you necessarily had a placebo effect with that, because you weren't coming in with any preconceived notions. Okay, I'm learning something. That's why I need to chat. I need to chat. Let me drink. I'm getting pops. I'm sorry. I'm having too much fun. Okay. Do we need to read this? Yes, we do. For example, a breeder might cross an indica strand, known for its relaxing effects, with a sativa strand that provides an uplifting high. The result is a hybrid strand that offers a balanced experience, combining the relaxing qualities of indica with the energizing effects of sativa. This is how Seed Bank creates strands that appeal to the wide range of preferences, from those looking for pain relief and those seeking an invigorating experience. Okay, yeah, just hybrid breeding. Okay, so IBL, inline breeding, also known, involves breeding plants of the same genetic line to stabilize specific traits. This method is used with breeders who want to create a strain that consistently exhibits the same characteristics generation after generation. And I think this is what we're all going for. So I think all of these techniques pretty much will be incorporated on the same plant one way or another. The hybrid breeding, I guess, is how you get the parents. Then you go through the generations of it through the selective breeding. Then you'll back cross it back to lock in the traits that you want. Then eventually it'll go to IBL, where you keep going generation to generation, breeding those together to stabilize the strain. And this is basically how it happens in the wild, like land races. Basically the same plants keep the same genetics in the pool, so you will pull those same characteristics over and over again through the multi-generations of doing the same thing, exhibiting the same characteristics. Okay. Inbreeding can lead to highly uniform plants, which is ideal for commercial growers who need to consistency in their crops. However, it can also reduce genetic diversity, which may make the plants more susceptible to disease or pests. To counteract this, breeders occasionally introduce new genetics to maintain the same level of diversity. Now, I've heard of this from, what's the dudes? Brothers Grimm talk about this when they're making strains. After they do the pheno hunt and selective breed and get the plant that they want, they'll breed it with something completely different, just so they can look and see where their characteristics are from those plants that they bred the out-of-the-pocket plant with. When they pick up their characteristics from those plants that were bred from the outside force, they'll bring that back in. It's got more vigor, more genetic diversity, and they will breed that back in, back cross that into the plants. But that's how they keep the genetic drift from happening. That's what it is. Over time, breeding the same plants together over and over, it will start to lose vigor, flavor, potency, and introducing new genetics into it and back crossing it back into new genetics. The old genetics will keep the line going with the same vigor and diversity. I guess like blending with liquor, kind of in the same sense. You mix enough of the batches together and you'll get exactly the flavor you're looking for. Wow, Bill! You made it! Cheers, Wild Bill. We just been talking about breeding seeds and being wacky. Okay, so it's a YouTube. Let me get to Kikarino. Oh yeah. Enter that. I never did that. I never entered the chat on Rumble. My bad. But yeah, I'm sorry. We were talking about. Oh shoot! It's about to be loud. Okay, that wasn't too bad. That's pretty accurate there as far as time. A water pump. Oh shoot. Like I have a rain barrel, and I think I'm trying to incorporate a like irrigation drip line into it. I'm tired of filling up buckets and watering plants. It is handy, I will admit, for mixing concoctions together, like making a JMS outside, or making like a lactobacillus or JLF mixture, or brown rice vinegar mixture to soil drench. But it is kind of a beat going, having to drag this 5-6 gallon bucket around the whole garden. So I'm thinking about maybe just adding gardening hose to it, and every so often just like kind of poking holes in it so it'll drain out and where the plants are. Oh shoot, let me finish this shoot. Where we at anyway in this article? We're not too far. How much more could it be? Oh God, it's plenty. Okay, feminization. Feminized seeds are the most popular products of the cannabis seed banks. Feminization is a technique used to ensure that the seeds produce only female plants. Since female cannabis plants are the ones that produce the cannabis-rich flowers, growers prefer feminized seeds to avoid wasting time and resources on male plants, which do not produce buds and space. To create feminized seeds, breeders manipulate the plant's environment or use specific chemicals to force the female plant to produce pollen. Now, the two that I know are colloidal silver and also what silver nitrate mixed with thiosulfate, and you mix the two together, and that basically blocks the estrogen in the female plant, forcing it to produce male parts, which you use that pollen. Maybe not the same way that a male does. I've heard in some cases you literally have to take tweezers and pull the pollen pods apart and apply the pollen with a Q-tip or something, or a brush, to the plants that you do want to pollinate. But either way, you do want to keep the plants you're using isolated. Once you use a chemical spray, colloidal silver or STS, silver thiosulfate, from what I understand, you want to spray 2 plants, and you want to try and pollinate 2 to 3 plants with those 2 plants, but you want to keep everything isolated. And like I said, my fault, we're going to watch a video where he explains it a lot better than I can, because that's a technique, like I said, I've never done it. I've just seen it done and talked about quite a bit. So I feel that I have a good understanding of it, but I've never tried it, and I heard you can fry the hell out of your plants if you don't do it correctly. They sell a spray on, I forgot to pull this up. I meant to go look at the spray on Amazon. We could probably check that out after here. That it's a reversal spray. It's like $40. It comes in a spray bottle. And I think it really depends on when you time the sprays. Before it even goes in the flower, I think is the first application of it. A week or 2 later, you want to spray it, but you don't want to spray it more than 5 times. Weird stuff can happen, and you'll usually fry the plant. So there is that risk of destroying it altogether. But we can look into it, explore it, and it would be nice to actually have feminized seeds. As much as I do work with males, and I don't mind it, it does suck from time to time when I know I'm putting out, say, X amount of plants, and there is a risk that, say, 2 or 3 of them might be a male, so I could be growing for nothing where I could have had a designated female go in there. So it is something I do want to try. Just not sure when that's going to happen. I expected it to be this year, but it ain't this year. But I got the chemicals and everything. So who knows? Okay, autoflower breeding. Now this was the one I was curious about. I'm scared as hell to mess with this. Silverado, hold on, I'm missing a lot of the chat. I'm sorry, because it's shit. I'm going fast, gave me. Pulling from the water pump. Okay, got that part. Move, fool. Okay. Oh yeah, happy Father's Day. Thank you. I forgot about that. The guy told me that I had to go to the beer store before I started the show, and he was like, happy Father's Day. For real? Oh yeah, it is happy Father's Day. Shoot, my bad. So happy Father's Day. I was like, man, I probably should have named the show Happy Father's Day, but like, nah, that really wouldn't have been appropriate because I don't think we really want the fathers in the plants. I mean, in our garden. I was like, man, I guess we are going to be celebrating Mother's Day more than Father's Day for growers. But, okay, pump water. You had to do a water pump from the well, and it's, hold on, negative 22 degrees. Jesus. Oh, my goodness. Jeez. Oh, Bill. Pull from a well pump. Okay. A fem spray from Amazon. Okay, the brand is Omega. That's the fem spray he uses from Amazon. Because I know it was like, what, cannabis something, cannanoid or something. It was somebody who were selling that, selling it on Amazon. I just basically bought the raw materials. It was a little cheaper, but now that I have to be scientific and weigh and mix grams and all this crap, oh, man, I should have just paid the extra $15 and got the spray pre-made. But also the other reason is I knew I wasn't really going to be spraying a multitude of plants. The recipe they give you is like for 32 ounces, and I think that'll do like 10,000 plants or some crazy crap like that. And that would take me, I won't get to 10,000 plants in my lifetime. Like, quite honestly, even if I grew 10 a year, it would take me 1,000 years. And I'm not really greedy. I guess I could try and sell weed, I guess, but I don't really like going through that hassle. It wasn't really fun when I was a teenager, and I don't imagine it's going to be much better as an adult. So I really just grow for myself, like what I'm going to use throughout the year. And I wouldn't be able to use that much on just my personal use, even though it's quite a bit. Thanks, Zach. Oh, yeah. Happy Father's Day. We was talking about seeds. We drinking, having fun. This was interesting. Y'all are having a great time out here. Pulling from a well. Techniques to save skunk strains. Revegging plants. Seeded blueberry muffins and truffles. Some UK cheese. Oh my goodness. Like I heard it, from what I understand. I shouldn't say I heard, because that would almost like I'm trying to lie on somebody. But from what I understand, maybe I didn't interpret the information correctly, so I'll leave that margin. I'll put it on me. That cheese, UK cheese, was cutting from skunk. The not skunk one, the fruity one, but the like roadkill skunk smell. The stuff you can smell a mile away from the dispensary skunk. So I don't know if that's true or not, because I can't even remember who I heard it from. From who I know, it could have been Tom McCormick. It could have been Sam Skunkman himself. Like, who knows? Dave Watson. It could have been Mel Frank. I don't know who I heard this from. Just somebody talking in the Future Cannabis Project. What's dude? I forget the dude's name who made the not Northern Lights. What the fuck did he make? And he's popular now. Yeah, it might have been the Northern Lights dude who's like going commercial. It could have, yeah, there's a myriad of people I could have heard that from, but it's supposed to be a derivative of skunk. So that's all right. The dragon fruit. That you must really enjoy that, because I see you talk about that quite a bit. It's been a while, is what I'm trying to say. Not that it's frequent, but it's just been a duration of time. So that's cool that you found something that you really enjoy. I'm still like really searching, I guess. I'm happy with the hazes, but I haven't found like the exact one that I'm like, okay, this is it. I could grow this forever. I'm leaning, I guess, towards what's the crap? Super silver haze, but from what I'm hearing, that's not even really a true haze. So I'm really confused. There's a lot of points I can't connect. You found cheese and dirty sock in skunk one. That's cool. Because I thought, from what I'm understanding, like it seems that stuff is lost. Like, oh, you're not going to get any funk smells out of it. He bred it out quite a bit. Okay, so you heard the same thing, Mr. Pheno Hunter. Yeah, I heard that it was a skunk, a phenotype of skunk, but I don't know, how true anything is. I don't know how true anything is, especially. Well, I can't even really say that. I was going to sit here and say it was heavy monetary gain for doing that, but I mean it's the same thing nowadays, actually worse. So I shouldn't even sit here and say that. You can get on Snapchat or Instagram and become a millionaire in no time if you got the right weed. Like, you name it the right thing. We've seen that from cookies. My mentor told me he's tired of hearing about That's cool you have a mentor, Wild Bill. But yeah, I would be tired of hearing about it too. I definitely would have been tired of hearing about it. Like my mother was tired of hearing about like Republican, Democrat. But she was born in 1947, so I can only imagine she went through the 60s, and from the 60s on, I'm sure it's just been relentless to her. And yeah, she's tired of it. The same way you have the skunk debate or whatever. Yeah, I'm sure. The haze debate. So here we go. Oh, I didn't finish the autoflower breeding part. I don't know how you do that. No. There we go. Hold on, somebody was saying something. I got that. I'm using Castor Lab, which groups all the chats together. Why does this keep doing this? It always reverts to Twitch chat. Let me see, where am I at? Boom. So everybody out there, thank you for joining. I got a baby boy pack of Neville Hayes. Only one germinated. Oh no. But that's cool. I mean, Neville kind of had the same problem. He had 3 seeds and built an empire with it. So I guess the crown is bestowed upon you now. I can't believe I let 3 cones die off with no light, but still have 4 that I did get transplanted. That happened to me. That really, this year, the stuff that I had taken in from last year, the clones, the Dieselberry and the original Haze made it from last year, but I had Pineapple Tie, the one that wouldn't grow, and it started to actually grow in a tent, but I was kind of forgot about it. I was having a lot of things going on at the time, so yeah, one of your Master Cushes, I had that. I had strawberry itself, that died. That was like my last seed. So Pineapple Tie, Master Kush, strawberry, a couple of clones of the Octane Haze died on. And it was a wreck this year. So, and I know it sucks. And I try not to think about it. It's just a minor setback in the grand scheme of things. Because I guess we're at the luxury that we can progress strains. But really, the main thing got to keep in mind, I just don't have to buy medicine. I'm not in that game of having to pay for anything anymore. And that's kind of how I try and think of it. I really got to do more pheno hunting now that the Octane Haze is gone. That would have been some parents, and I could have worked with that. But I'll just have to do it over. That sucks, but you did get 4 of them. That's huge. There was some salvageability, and that's kind of how I feel. I got 2 of the plants out of 7 that were in the tent, or 6 that were in the tent. And I'd have probably really been pissed off if none of them made it. So I'll just be happy with what I got. And I also look at it as sometimes I got to save myself for myself. Yeah, I'm mad, but I'd have had like way over the plant count if I had had my wishes, and maybe that would have been trouble. You know, what 90% of life you get away with, but the 10% of it, that's what kills you. So just because you've done things for years and it's worked out for you doesn't mean one day the reckoning's not coming. So also, I try and look at it as a humbling thing. Like, yeah, it ain't necessarily in the bag the way you think. You do have to care for this. You do have to do something to this. You do have to be mindful about it. You have to find this balance to incorporate these plants. And like growing them is basically saying you're dedicating time to them. So appreciate it. That's just me, because I'm very neglectful and I put a lot of things off. So yeah, I wouldn't feel bad about it. So yeah, Facebook, that is a good spot to meet a collective group of people. You're right about that, Steven. Moneymaker and green crack, sheesh. I had, I guess, not even good green crack before, and it was a pretty nice strain. I enjoyed it. I didn't have any problems with it. It was a pretty nice THC, so I can imagine what some good green crack would be. That was like in the DC dispensary days with the pop-ups. They would come into a like record store or a recording studio and set up shop, set up a little table, and just have apes on the table. But Moneymaker, I've never heard of that, but all of that seems good. Like I like the diversity. I like to try and grow a bunch of different strands, so at different times I can actually smoke something different, okay? Sometimes I want to be uppity this way, okay? I want a lemony flavor in this. Sometimes I want to be down. This is stuff that I'm going to use to, like, go to sleep with. Oh, this is what I'm going to use to, like, be mentally focused, but, like, not be able to move body-wise, and we can binge watch something on Netflix. What I Am, or what the heck is the shit? What the fuck is the joint I like? I Am, and what the fuck is the name of that shit? Not fucking Squid Game. What's the other joint that's really good? Alice in Borderlands. Yeah, Alice in Borderlands. That's it. Or Cobra Kai or whatnot. Okay. So you didn't transplant the 3 next day, and since there was no water, they started drooping. I get you. So I'm guessing he told you to let them go because since they had suffered, they're like genetically compromised, I guess. It was too much to kind of salvage them and breed with them because they'll have too much, I guess, what epigenetic damage. Moneymaker is from Greenhouse. Okay. Greenhouse. Yeah, I stopped buying seeds now. I did get that authentic genetics, and I did get what the hell were we talking about? That was like 4 weeks ago. You were telling me there was a sale on, it was Neville's Haze, I believe. I want to say Neville's Haze, but that was it for me. I'm done. I gotta burn these seeds off that I got. I got like Mexican Haze, Colombian Gold over here. I gotta burn these seeds off. And I got, let me see. I'm trying to show. Okay. This. Like so, okay. I can't even see my fucking stuff. I'm going for a fucking screen. This. I got like from seeds, I got like 5 of these from every plant that I grew, like filled with seeds. It's probably like 1,000 seeds or something like that. Say, I gotta do something with them. I got a pheno hunt. I got my own fucking problems. I got like 5 strains I gotta go through on my own. Then I got like 9 commercial ones. I'm done. That Neville's Haze, the like, what the fuck? Skunk one. Original Haze and Colombian from Authentic Genetics. That was like my last 2 purchases. I'm done. I'm done. Because you had 4, he doesn't want to hear about it. You got 4. What you complaining about? Shit, back in my day, you were lucky to get half of one. But I mean, and I'm joking, and I went overboard with that. But I can only imagine the shit that he's seen. Like, you got 4, motherfucker. You know what it was like back in my day to have 1? So I seen things, man, and I know some stuff, man. But I think he might be right. For you on Father's Day, it's every father's constitutional right to be drunk on Father's Day. Well, I think it was Thanksgiving, actually. But that was a quote from Peter Griffin. And
I got a higher body count than yours.
Well, should I add this to your body count?
I wish I had the chip. This is the time I want the Elon chip. Hold on, all right. I don't like doing this type of stuff because I don't really care ultimately. Like, I might say some things, but as far as putting effort behind it, hell no. Are y'all, I'm looking towards, I'm gonna tell y'all because I told my wife already, I'm ready for it's his villain arc. He's about to build an Iron Man suit. He already got the army of androids, and he about to be like Hyperion and take over the world. You will kneel before Zod. That's what I'm guessing. He's gonna get there in an Iron Man suit, or is it just me? He's got AI, he's got the robots. I'm looking forward to it. I always just want to see, like, I want to see him fly with his arms out, like the Iron Man pose with the arms out. And then I want to see him, what else do I want? Oh yeah, I want to see the phaser beam from the hand. I want to see the Iron Man laser. Yeah, I want to see Elon do that. And then, the mask flip back, and it's Elon. I want to see that, like, he fly in front of the camera screen. You will kneel before me, America, and the joint flip back, and it's Elon behind the Iron Man joint. And he break the camera. Like some Zack Snyder Man of Steel stuff. Yeah, no drinking. Yeah, you don't have to drink. That's just me. What I do with my son is I give him root beer. He actually is a fan of root beer. It's really funny. But I'd say, yeah, we still drinking beer. It's just root beer. Yeah, you don't have to drink. That's just me having my fun. That's all. And letting you know I'm in my happy place. I got to smoke in the living room. Oh, your daughter got picked up. You got to smoke in the living room. Happy Father's Day. Okay. Oh, let me get in this article so we can really party, man. I'm BSing, doing dumb crap. No, don't do that, baby. Oh, I didn't know I could do that even. Shoot. Okay. Autoflower cannabis strains are bred by crossing regular cannabis with Cannabis ruderalis, a species that flowers automatically based on the age rather than the light cycle. Autoflower strains are popular among growers because they are easier to cultivate, especially for beginners, as they do not require a change in the light schedule to initiate the flowering. True. Very true. Breeders use autoflower genetics to create strains that are compact, fast-growing, and able to thrive in a variety of environments. Excuse me, I was burping. This makes it ideal for home growers and those who are looking for a quicker harvest. It's not necessarily a quicker harvest. That's the thing. The benefit really is the fact that you don't have to change the lights. That's like the only real benefit to me, is that there's no changing of the light cycle. But besides that, like if you wanted to do the same thing with a femseed, just let it veg for 2 weeks and then flip the lights on it, and you do the same thing as the autoflower. I just think you're able to be on cruise control. That's the main benefit to autoflowers to me. Now maybe I'm wrong. I'm generalizing or painting with too broad a brush, but that would be the easiest way I could describe it. And I would really say if you wanted to do that, instead of giving it 2 weeks of veg, give it like 4 weeks and then flip it, because I think that's what a lot of commercial nurseries are doing. 4 to 6 weeks of veg with their clones, and then they go in the flower. Okay, useful breeding tool. Unlike pollen chucking, proper cannabis breeding consists of stabilizing strains so they can breed true for a certain number of chosen traits. Usually this process starts after finding an outlier when doing a pheno hunt. In other words, after finding a plant displaying exceptional traits, I'm guessing. Oh, characteristics. Breeders will then try to fix these traits so they are a new strain and become genetically stable. There are different breeding methods breeders can resort to in order to stabilize these lines. However, selfing is the fastest way to achieve stability. Every time you self a plant, the offspring becomes 50% more genetically stable. Each gene has only two, I'm guessing that's alleles because I can't see because of the screen. Yeah, two different alleles or two different versions of itself. So same plant, oh, well, okay, OG, gelato, or gelato 44, gelato 43, gelato, regular gelato, a bunch of different varieties, like different flavors from the same plant creation. Therefore, when self-pollinating a plant, there aren't many possible combinations, thus making genetic stability increasingly quicker. Even if selfing can allow breeders to create an IBL quickly, there's also some serious drawbacks to using that method. Which is very true. Now, I'm guessing like selfing, what they mean by that is, we know of the bag seed, the plant that pollinated itself. We also talked about the STS or the colloidal silver, the reversal part. But yeah, what the heck is the drawback? How am I going to explain that one? How am I going to top that? Selfing or self-pollinating is a plant pollinated without another plant. It happens when there is a transfer of pollen from the anther, the male part, to the stigma, the female part. When the plant pollinates itself, the genes are passed down to the offspring, comes from the same plant. The result of the selfing is a population derived from the same parents, known as the S1. Then every generation after is the S2, S3, and so on. The main breeders do this by reversing the plant and using that feminized pollen to pollinate the same plant or a clone, which we talked about, like the, pollinate, reverse two plants to collect the pollen, because it is less pollen when you reverse a female plant compared to male pollen. Then have 2 to 4 plants to pollinate, just to make sure there's even distribution of pollen. It's not as scientific or as easy as it would be with a male and female. It is a lot of complications, and I did say that perhaps I've even read you have to take tweezers and pull the pollen apart and catch all the pollen and apply with a brush or Q-tip. Okay. Selfing is very positive because among cannabis. Oh, hold on. I already did this. Oh, I didn't need to keep that part in. That's what happened. That happened. I realized that when I was doing this video, that I was reading leaving a lot of stuff on. Okay. So selfing pros and cons. The fastest way to stabilize a strand. As we previously discussed, selfing leads to the rapid loss of genetic diversity, causing genetic stability to increase quickly. And it is a great tool to fix certain desired traits into the plant, I'm guessing. You need fewer plants with work. When using this method, breeders only start off with one plant. Because of that, it will be easier to find plants expressing the same interesting characteristics among the offspring. Consequently, breeders can create an IBL working with a few plants than when resorting to line breeding. Okay, so F1s, F2, F3s. So if I'm not mistaken, they're basically saying, once you find a plant you want, you can self it, let that plant pollinate itself, pick out the genetics that you want, back cross it into the parent, and then continue to breed each plant, offspring, cousins, sisters together to stabilize the genetics of that strain and get uniformity. Every time you pop a seed, you're going to get the same results. Homogenization. Okay, it also reveals the genetic mapping. Provided you grow out enough seed. Selfing helps reveal the alleles are dominant and which ones are recessive. For instance, if about 75% of your S1s end up with green buds and only 25% with black buds, then you can infer that the black bud is a recessive trait. The green bud is dominant and the other is recessive. It also shows how stable a strain already is. If a plant is already a true IBL or homogeneous, homozygous, uniform, homozygous, homozygosity, I've heard that before, then the S1 will make it display at a higher level of uniformity. If, however, the selfing plant, you notice a lot of diversity among the offspring, you can conclude that the strain isn't already stable. Okay, let me go back into the chat because I went over a lot. If you cross an auto with a photo, you can select and make an auto line by the F3 generation. Holy crap, okay, that's not as much work as I thought. I think the book shows 2 weeks, veg, 8-9 flower, okay. Brutal, should I send you a bunch of these seeds from the octane? Here to play. Oh, yeah. If you have, not the ones I gave you, but you have new ones, yeah, I'll take it. I'm going to at least perfect one. I thought I had 3. Well, no, I thought I had 2. Let me get that wrong. I thought I had Dieselberry and Octane Haze in the bag. I was so confident I worked in Heavenly Haze, which was the original haze with the Octane Haze one. So I thought I was working on 3. Lo and behold, from the information I found, I'm still working on the 1. But yeah, I would love to work with that stuff. That might be the one like what they were talking about when you keep IBL and you want to back cross into something else to get that vigor and genetic spark back. Those might be those seeds. That might be it, baby. Yeah, I think that would be a real good idea. This chat reminds me of how I interpreted the story of OG Kush. What was it? Triangle Kush. Somebody traded Triangle Kush seeds to someone for Indiana bubblegum seeds. They used the seeds to create OG Kush. But that I got some good stuff. Here's what I got. The not Neville's Haze, the Northern Lights. That's what I'm trying to say. Same thing. A bunch of breeders got together and this is the best we got. Here you go. So that would be, yeah, I'm sure if everybody grew everybody's stuff, it would be freaking amazing. Just to not only have something different, something life-changing. I gotta send out some more seeds. The only crappy part is it's like $10 to send it in the mail to everybody. So I'm so broke, I gotta keep I have to keep reminding myself that the post office is even an option to send out seeds. But yeah, I do have to send out more seeds. That was kind of the point of doing a lot of things so everybody could try different things out and just have something to work with. I know with cloning a lot of times you might get stuck in a box for a little bit. So to be able to get out of the box in any kind of way or just have something to play with, I figure would be kind of fun. So yeah, I need to get back into sending more seeds out too. Yeah, I would like some, Wild Bill. That would be cool. Just NL5 and Afghani. That could be true. That could be true. That could be what Triangle Kush is, and Triangle Kush could just be in a different region, and they made that and named it OG Kush or whatever. Because I guess there's the main cut of a plant, like what OG Kush has, Bloodline OG, and shoot, let me just think of one. Diamond OG, Blood OG, Diamond OG. And apparently it's the same OG plant or a seed of it, but they exhibit different phenotypes, and I'm just due to the environment, I'm sure. And the environmental pressures people talk about. So whether it's temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, insect, all of that impacts how a plant is going to grow. It's basically can sense the world around it. So if where I grew it, say it was high pest, so it was exhibiting a lot of like lanolin or limonene to basically repel the insects from where I'm at. If I give you a cutting of that, expecting you to express that, you go to a colder climate where you just don't have the insect problems. The plant's not going to express that anymore because it doesn't need to. There's no pressure to do it. So now I can go back to what I was doing as you were, and the plant will exhibit something totally different. So that is kind of interesting. We're getting different seeds, different cuttings. Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Say Humboldt is the best representation of OG in the seed. CSI Humboldt or Humboldt Seed Company? I'm pretty sure you mean Humboldt Seed Company, but I just want to specify because a lot of people are trying to tag in on the Humboldt name. What the fuck is the how do they put that in Hollywood? Because they say that the what do you call that shit? Equity. Okay. Yeah, the IP equity. The title equity in it. And using Humboldt. There's money in the name of having that in there. Let me finish this up. I think we recorded it way through. I'm sorry. I was having too much fun. Humboldt Seed Company. That's what I thought. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much. Okay. There's a loss of vigor. Oh, okay. Infertility. Undesirable traits. Self and myths. Hold on. Okay. I couldn't stop this moment. Yeah, I want to hear the self and myth. Because we kind of understand that by going through anything can happen. There could be a setback in anything. Trust me, I know. I thought I was cruising. I was in. So what would I have sent y'all? F4s. I sent everyone F4s of the Octane Haze. And I just knew that I had it in the bag. I was popping my collar and woo, you better go back to the drawing board like Wile E. Coyote and act me. But I want to try this. I want to get and try and do some feminized seeds so I really can pass out some feminized seeds. That's, I guess, also part of my reluctance to pass out seeds. I just have regular seeds, so I might give you like 10 male plants. You contaminated my garden and ruined 15 years of work. I hate you. Die. But I know if I can work this feminized seed thing out, I'd be a lot more confident. I'd feel almost like a seed company. And I actually would like to become a seed company, actually. I would like to keep going with the strains that I have. The easy cheat, which a lot of people frown on in the industry, but something I'm not opposed to doing, but I'd rather have a name for myself first and do it in like a every 5-year release. But the strains that I started with, I got this from a beer company. From craft beer, I should say. A lot of companies did this in craft beer, but everything was a building block from something else. So the same way I did the Dieselberry. Okay, I just went to the next step and bred that with something else to make Octane Haze, and I bred that with something else to make, but I wasn't really necessarily coming up with new strains. Like, this is something totally different from out of that Dieselberry gene pool, the OG Strawberry Haze gene pool. But I do have like some stable strains already, like the Colombian, Mexican, Colombian Gold, Acapulco Gold, that I was just going to make fem seeds from and sell them as well. Which, like I said, is a cheat because I really didn't do any work in it. I just grew a plant out that grew more seeds so I could sell them. But I figured once I had a couple of different of my own strains out there, I could go, throw out a Durban Poison. Throw out a Colombian. Throw out, what was I trying to say? What was the shit? Throw out a skunk. And the hazes that I would grow would kind of be like my haze more so than someone else's haze. Like the land races, the Afghani, that's what I was trying to say. Like an Afghani. The land race strains, the more I didn't do any work strains, I was going to leak them out every 5 years or so on top of the work that I did. So it wouldn't be so bad. It wouldn't seem like such a cash grab or I'm trying to disrespect anybody. But I am trying to fatten up my arsenal and have these seeds available for the people to work. Like every ingredient that I had will be available for everybody else to work with. That's where I was trying to get to. But man, that's a lot of work. So let me finish this so I can throw in a video because my eyeballs are starting to float and I don't want to just run out on you and leave you there. Okay. Some growers call feminized seeds S1s, S2s. While it is true that breeders can resort to selfing to make feminized seeds, it's not the only way. One can also resort to line breeding, cross two different stable strains, true F1s or pollen chuck F1s, in order to produce fem seeds. Okay, I guess so. I guess that's... So not everything's an S1, I've heard that. We went through that before we talked to CSI Humboldt. They do a lot of reversal work and try to get strains from different people to stabilize them so it's the true strain or the true version, or they will try to work a strain to be what it should be in their arsenal of seeds they sell. So they'll try and get OG Kush and make it the true OG Kush, like breed, do a lot of reversal work, but everything they sell is like a S1, but a stabilized S1, if that makes sense. But they have a lot of, like, I'm sure they have sour diesel. CSI Humboldt would have sour diesel, and it would be sour diesel. They are like a research company that makes seeds, if that makes sense, versus breeders that make seeds. Okay. Tomatoes, eggplant. Selfing isn't natural. That's not true. Everything selfs. Most vegetables. Okay, yeah, this is the last. They call this the bonus question from Khalifa Genetics. But can you self a male plant? And yes, you can. It just takes different chemicals to make the male reverse. But the point of doing that is to be able to smoke the male. Like, it produces very little flower, like smokable material. But you can smoke it and it will give you an idea of what the male potency is, flavor is. I've heard that from Future Cannabis Project. Boneyard Seeds was the first person I heard talking about reversing males. And like, you need to know what you're smoking so you know what you're putting into the next plant instead of guessing. And he was real adamant about it. But that is that version of it. I'm gonna pull up the video. What is it? The epigenetics. That's what I think it is. No, not the setting. I didn't mean to do that. I hit the wrong button, baby. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. Hold on for the delay. I hit the wrong button during the stream, and I need it to be fast, baby. Okay, so that's that. Thank you. Sorry. Trying to set up the next scene, and I messed up bad. And I'm sorry I'm not looking at the chat this second. I'm about to, but my eyeballs is floating and I can't think. I'm forcing all my mutant power into not pissing on myself. So I think this is it, right? Then that's tiny. Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess we could leave the music on for this too. So stop. So, while my eyeballs is floating, we'll get into this and get out of it. But this is epigenetic seeds. How to transfer the information from the parent plant into the seeds. This is from Future Cannabis Project. My eyeballs is floating. I'll be right back. Let me hook you into that.
Which also includes smoking a bowl. So, Bob, welcome. Welcome, boys and girls. We have
let me just make sure everybody hearing everything.
A knowledge drop with Bob, who's been going down a lot of rabbit holes
Yeah,
in between rounds of golf.
Absolutely.
Would that be accurate?
Yeah, okay. I'll be right back. My bad.
Yes.
So let me try.
There we go. You there, Peter?
I'm here.
I was getting reverb back. Shall we start?
Let's get to it, and let me get your first.
Well, we don't have to put that up. Yeah, you can put it up.
Right. Why don't I put it up and then I'll take it down? But just to give people the context.
First thing is I'm not a biologist, and I'm not a genetic, and I'm not a geneticist.
But you play one on TV.
Yeah, at Holiday Inn Express. So I'll tell you how I got. The way I think it goes is I'll tell you what kind of got me going at it, and then go through how the stuff works. Go through some epigenetics. Go through the pathways in epigenetics, because I think that's pretty important if you want to get a certain desired result out of creating these epigenetic changes. And then I have done this on 3 different strains that I created that not released. I'm still doing some testing on them. And then we just finished up with a little piece on how to store seeds.
Okay. My bad. I forgot. I got timestamps for this. Let me break out the timestamps for this good. I was going to go ahead and try and edit this crap out, but it was like really too much. It was only a few gems in here, as much as I thought these talks were going to be gold mines of information. So 1 minute to 25 seconds. Okay. I mean, 1 minute to 25 minutes. That's the good part. So let me go into the chat right quick. I didn't mean to leave y'all. I'm sorry. I've grown. I didn't smell like blueberry until I kind of was Royal Runts. Dark purple nugs from the Royal Runts. Okay. Ram Purple. Welcome. How you doing out there? We're enjoying ourselves talking about breeding some seeds. Let me make sure I stepped away for a minute. Yeah, thank you everybody being here today. Let me go ahead and switch it up right quick. I
want to thank each and every one of you for being here with me today.
Oh, yeah. You two ladies, every one of y'all.
Yeah, thank y'all for being here. Kick, Rumble, YouTube, Twitch. So it's a little talk from Future Cannabis Project. I forgot. Oh, shoot. You getting married? Holy crap, congratulations. Yeah, I'm married even though I don't wear the ring too much. It's because of work. I work in a warehouse and that thing breaks my finger up. I got the Captain America shield. And even though the Captain America part's rubbed off, you can, like, you see this circumference, like, yeah, you can understand it was the Captain America shield. Yeah. I think you'll be fine being married, but you've got to let her realize, make her realize that I understand that her mind is married and she's probably thinking it's this big thing, but it's just normal. It's the same days. You're just proving to the world that, hey, yeah, you're the one. Nobody has to ask any questions. And you'll be fine. Once, you know, what I just see from someone on YouTube, I don't want to say that, well, yeah, Homeman, who was talking about the stability part of marriage. Like, it's constant. Yeah, that kind of sucks and it's boring because, yeah, you come home every day and, like, yeah, I'm cooking. There's not as much excitement, but you're always there. Because it's not the excitement and, like, you're put in these positions where you can show me something I don't really like and I don't care about you as much. The stability is showing me, like, you like where you're at. So, yeah, marriage is... I think the main reason, and I've known this for quite some time, the main reason marriage is bad in most people's opinion is because a lot of people don't even know who they are. So how can you sell somebody something you don't really know what you're getting? You just had to have seen the person under enough pressure to realize, like, okay, they can still make rational decisions even though the walls are crashing in on them. As long as they've got that, you're fine, because things are going to come up that are out of your control. Of course, that's just life. But even like with the plants, you know, like, you know, you lost them plants, but there is a way to move on and progress. Like, you know, keep that in mind. There's always another day. Trust me, I had some dark times and I used to want things to happen, and I realized, oh, you're going to live forever, ain't you? Even if you wanted this to stop, this roller coaster ain't going to stop. So let me go ahead and pump this video out so you guys can hear. Yeah, of course, Wild Bill. I mean it. I got good things. Figure it's going to be good things. Good people get good things. It might not be the most lucrative. It might not seem the most successful, but as long as you're content in who you are and you're at peace, that's all that matters. That is really all that matters. There was a time when I first started doing martial arts that I was like trophy hungry, and I wanted medals and I wanted to just be the best. And 20 years removed from that, you know, 21 years, I started Tai Chi when I was 27. And just the fact that I'm as flexible as I am, I look at people my age at 48, I'm like, yeah, they can't do no flips. They can't do somersaults. They can't do jujitsu. They're not as flexible, or like Tai Chi saved me. It made me very, very agile. I can pretty much fold myself in half, like trying to touch your toes and put my hands flat on the ground. It takes a little bit longer now, but I can still eventually get my palms to the ground, like without bending my knee, you know. So it wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the most exciting. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't jump kicks. It wasn't what Tony Jaa. But Tony Jaa would be a teacher now, and I'd still be in it because of just the muscles and the relaxation and the calming that it gave me, like the mental fortitude. It's a whole body transformation and mind transformation. Things don't bother me as much. What Tai Chi is based off the philosophy is if the tree falls in the woods and nobody's around, doesn't make a sound, nobody hears it, doesn't make a sound. It's that journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And yeah, even if you don't do the 1,000 miles, you stop at 800, you are still 800 steps ahead of everybody else. So everything means something. Sussy, how you doing out there from Twitch joining us? I love We Live. Might go live on. I love We Live. Starting soon. Okay. Starting soon. Okay. That would be cool. Yeah. Like the plants are going. I might do that next week. Let me stop BSing. Because I wanted to do that in the video, but I'll probably just do it live. I was going to lollipop the plants where they are now and do a little bit of maintenance. I'll probably just do it live and then take a little break, throw the little slider on, move the equipment back into the room and continue on with the show in here. We did something similar with the Colombian harvest, I believe, as well as the not trim sessions, some of the trim sessions, but I'd like to do something like that. Let me get into this because we ain't even watching it talk.
And as we go through it, I'm happy taking questions at any time.
Okay.
And the idea is, if I'm successful, I'll have given or provided enough information. Subtilis is actually an elicitor in cannabis, right?
Okay.
It actually has the plant do something it wouldn't do had it not had access. So the idea behind it is I started looking at these elicitors, and then I started looking at epigenetics.
Okay.
And you hear epigenetics all the time, but what's it actually mean and how's it work? So I ended up going down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
Peter posted those two items. One was a really good article written 2 or 3 years ago and out of the UK. And then the woman who,
Oh shit, we need to get this article to right.
Dr. Mary Goering, this piece that she did that's on YouTube, they reference her work all the time.
Yeah, we got to get this article.
Yeah, and for everyone watching, in the text that goes with this video, there's a link to both the review article, Immune Priming in Plants, and the podcast interview with Mary Goering. So if you want to go listen to those or check them out after, just click.
Okay, he helped me with that. Now I'm saying the environmental in the epigenetic transfer to seeds. I'm saying I'm going more for traits. So like high THC flavors. I kind of hinted at pest resistance, but that's more so what they're talking about. The resistance to mold and resistance to insects and pests and infestation. That's what they're really trying to transfer to these seeds. Where you get, that is kind of the main reason of even hybrid breeding, is that Afghanis are very susceptible to mold. Sativas are not. If you can get that right balance, besides structure and flavor, you're really trying to get that pest resistance and that mold resistance to transfer into the Afghani. I might be mistaken or yet again painting with a broad brush, but the ideal cannabis plant has got a sativa structure. It grows 16 feet tall, but it grows pine cone fist nugs like an Afghani and has purple buds and pink hairs or red hairs or something like that on it. So that can be, a lot of that can be environmental, a lot of that can be recessive. The purple comes from the plant trying to keep itself warm in cold conditions. The best way to achieve that is warm days and cold nights. The color thing, yeah, you got me. I'm sure that's very environmental from the original plant, like the land race of it. I'm sure it has something to do with blending into the environment. You know, things like the Panama red, Jamaican red. I'm sure that has something to do with the tropical environment or even the soil that is grown on. I believe a lot of that is mountainous or volcanic.
Those links.
So in Mary Goering's, which is kind of interesting, they
we
focus
watching
on
this
the
next week.
epigenetic imprinting from the mother side, talking about how it affects the endosperm, and you can actually create positive change in the seed. And a lot of, as I kind of dug into all this stuff,
Trust me, this
of
is
the
worth it.
research was done on the mother plants. Now it's not all, obviously not all cannabis, because you haven't been able to do the research for that long. So in the last 3, 4, 5 years, there's been a lot more about the males and the female parents, right? Creating epigenetic changes in both of them that will end up in the seed and therefore in the progeny that comes out of it. So that's kind of what I focused on. I start stuff 30 days before pollination, go through a process, and then reinforce the process till I harvest the seeds.
Okay.
So I guess let's go through the epigenetic part. Let me see what I got.
Okay, so I remember earlier, Mr. Fino, you were talking about pollinating at week 3 and then going from there. Now, this sounds like something very similar, because I guess, it's 7 days, week 3 would be 21 days. So he's talking about, I guess, even going 4 weeks to, like the first week of actually the bulking of the flower. When it's about a 3 week, from my rule of thumb, and an 8 week finishing plant like an indica or hybrid, 8 week, 9 week finishing variety, the first 3 weeks are the stretch. And then the last 5 weeks is like just basically bulking after that. The first 3 weeks are making the sites to grow the bud. The last 5 weeks is growing the bud. We're saying at week 3, instead of just growing a bud, okay, boom, we want to pollinate it so we can get it to grow these seeds and finish them at the same time. Little bit of bud, bunch of seed. But the seed is the real value, unfortunately. It doesn't work that you can get a bunch of bud and a bunch of seed with a lot of strains. That really does affect the production. I'm sure that early, but you are ensuring that these seeds are exactly what you want them to be. And that's kind of what it's for. Another date. We can fight another day and really dig in, pheno hunt, be able to not only set up the mother plant, but the offsprings, the outliers that we all find, like, you know, the good mom, the good dad. And then we found the outliers in the children and back cross them into the parents to come up with these stabilized, off the chart strains. Whatever we can transfer into it. I think a lot of it has to do with, at least for me, being able to grow in the same space. I'm just speaking for myself. Everyone's in a kind of a similar situation, but I'll say especially the first two F1s and F2s is really the acclimation into the environment of the plant. Yes, there is expression going on, but I think more so it's trying to build in the imprint that, okay, we're going to have, a mold resistance. We're going to focus on that because at the end of the season, when it's time to harvest, it's damp. We're going to focus on bud production because really we're getting a lot of sunlight. We might as well do it. It's raining, so we're going to focus on body structure because this rain is going to weigh us down, so we need stronger branches to be able to hold ourselves up. Whatever is transferred through this environmental transfer into the epigenetics, basically the DNA of the plant. You know, what's going to make sour diesel return to sour diesel, what's going to make Panama red seeds exhibit those traits. That's what the epigenetics are, is basically what he's talking about. And how to transfer all the information, and what I mean by information, everything that goes on during the life cycle of the plant is being charted in the plant's DNA and transferred into the offspring. They're trying to give you the safest and fastest way to give you what they want. That's what this is all about. I hope that explains. Jeez.
I have way too many notes.
I'm about to get off my rocker and I'm trying to explain this. I'm less than qualified.
So, I guess the first thing is
every sip makes me less qualified.
So on epigenetics, DNA never changes, right? So what happens is there's some type of molecule or some type of influence that goes into the plant and then activates something that the plant does. So...
Okay, boom. That's funny. I was going to let him cook because I think it was going to lead into what you were just saying, Steven. To go over plant plasticity sometime. How a plant can show different phenotypes depending on the environment. That, I think, is what he's talking about, to stabilize that, but we kind of have to now. They're talking about some talk that's on YouTube we need to see. I have heard of plant plasticity. I mentioned the opposite of that, which I guess would be genetic drift. But the plasticity, we hinted on that. Somebody brushed over that lightly with how the range of the expression of the plant due to the environment. Like we were saying, I guess. So how can I do this? Mexico, Colombia, Thailand, I guess, are the three main spots I'm going for the sativas. Tall plants, thin buds, trying to basically cool itself off and not be able to burn in that constant sun, that equatorial, relentless sun beating on them. Will give you, out of that field of, thousands or hundreds of plants or whatever, you're going to get some more lime. It's all citrus flavors. You're going to get some more orange leaning. You're going to get some more grapefruit leaning. You're going to get some more citric leaning, depending on, hey, I'm on the outer part of the field. I'm on the inner part of the field where I'm more shaded. I'm in the middle part and I'm getting all the sun throughout the entire day. So I'm going to, all of that does matter. What the plant plasticity, like what the plant is available to do out of the genetics that it has available. Hold on, my iguana's on the ground. If you want me to pick you up, I will. But you're fine. I think it just came down to poop. I don't know. But I had the door cracked because I don't want to suffocate us. But now I'm forced to because I think he sees the sunlight and he's going to escape once again. Once again. My bad. But yeah, we do have to. Okay, hold on. No. Let me not just say that because I be BSing sometimes. Let me write that. Plant. So let's say 48. And shoot. And sauce up Sunday, 48. All right, plant plasticity. Boom. So I know. I try and keep notes, and I know it's old school, and I could be a lot better with it, but in the heat of the moment when I'm in default mode, I'm so drunk, I gotta rely on what I wrote in the words. And that should be it. Yeah, plant plasticity, that is very important. And I guess in our own way, we're all trying to breed something new, something exciting. So any little bit of information we could not only directly use, but cross transfer would help.
It's not something you apply that's going to change something on the plant. The epigenetic changes and these elicitors, what they do is they literally go into the plant and then activate something in the plant. So what happens is this can actually be transgenerational. So the data's a little wonky, right? It lasts 1 or 2 generations of the seeds. If it doesn't get any exposure to the defense systems, let's start with PM.
Okay.
If it never gets PM, then the strength of its alarm system to fight PM slowly wanes over time. So you can continue to reinforce it through the next generation of seeds, but it needs some type of action. So usually when you do these epigenetic changes, you're pretty good at 1 or 2 generations, and then you have to do something else. The idea behind an epigenetic change is the DNA is basically wrapped in protein, and you do something that activates the plant to go affect those proteins. And there's a couple different channels. But before I get to that, humans basically get cleaned when the cells are developed, right? There's very little epigenetic change that goes through in mammals, but plants can't move, right? They can't walk away. So what happens is when things affect them, because they're stationary, they have more adaptability to change, even though the DNA stays exactly the same.
Okay, I just want to stop it there. That was something we had talked about with Clankema Scoot and Builder Soil, that they had done studies on cannabis plants, and within 15 minutes, the cannabis plant is able to chemically change the terpene profile in order to protect itself from insects. So say that the plant is exuding a lemonade or lemon fragrance. Once an insect lands on it, it is able to transfer that lemonine fragrance into a lanolin like lavender, which is pretty much what they use to kill pests from, what's that, Orkin pest control. That lanolin is pretty much the main ingredient that they use. And the plant is able to pretty much, I know at least for me outdoors, I can literally see solid insects intact, just like frozen in time. And I'm guessing that's from they got hit with the gas. They got hit with the terpene gas, the plant's ability to defend itself from outside interference. And so what he's saying does kind of sound true. If you got this plant, that's the main reason we put chitin or crab or shell on the plant, to make it think it's under attack, to basically morph out and express itself as hard as it can to repel pests. Well, if there's no pest to repel, there's no need to pretty much do that. Same thing I hear about chapstick, and I know this to be true because I'm stuck in this cycle. Once you start using chapstick, after time, your body stops building up the moisture because you're applying it yourself. Like anything, drugs. You pretty much don't supply it. Your body ain't building it no more. So you need it in order to supply it to yourself. If there's no outside interference or no reason to build a pest resistance, it just won't. And I guess that's why the Afghanis are so susceptible to disease and mold, pest, is the fact that it's in the mountains. There is no, I guess, natural predators for it. So you put it in an environment where it's a bunch of predators, it's gonna get ate. It don't know what to do. So you have to mix it with some kind of sativa that is acclimated to just being surrounded by predators. I'm in a shark tank, bitch, and I'm thriving. Once you get, I guess, that defense of the environment together epigenetically through generations, it seems to be able to defend itself from the outside world. Then you really got something. You're trying to build it to that point. That's what I'm taking in. Maybe I'm wrong about this crap. Hold on, let me go to the chat because I've been neglecting y'all. Slugs, okay. Is that, I know this is just my environment, but it's really funny. This year, I'm noticing that I don't have a bunch of slugs. I don't have as many pests as I've had in previous years. Not that anything has really damaged anything that much. I guess last year might have been the worst pest problem I had, where I noticed that there were caterpillars on my bud. Wasn't like they really did anything too bad, but I did notice they had been there. But the previous 5 years was just slug city. I would pull over, like, I like to incorporate wood and logs over the top of it, try and make it as much like a forest as I can. That long-term breakdown of the topsoil, the mulch, and things like that, just to feed the plants over a slow time. It's always going to have this battery charge. Slugs were freaking everywhere. Now I'm going to say it's the Karanja powder and the neem oil this year. But I was growing a lot of like Mexican and South American strains, and it was during that time that the slugs were there. So is there a correlation? I don't know. I like to think I got the pest under control. I got the slugs under control. But it is funny, yeah, when I had Acapulco gold and Colombian gold in the garden, that is when, Hawaiian haze, that is when I had the most slug problems. That's funny that you say that. Aphids don't like it. Okay, oh, yep. That's exactly what it was. The iguana just walked past me right here. He's like, oh, the door closed? Well, let me go back home. I was going to go pick him up real quick. I got a whiz anyway, but I don't want to scare him. We're still on. He's been okay since I brought him in the house, but let's not forget, for 3 weeks he was out in the wild. He's been more out in the wild than he's been home. So I don't want to freak him out, because I'm sure it had to be scary. If you can only imagine your parent chasing you frantically, like, yeah, that would probably mess you up too. So like, you're a little uneasy anytime they come around. Is this the panic time, or you back to mom? So I'm gonna leave him alone. I think he was just trying to poop. Maybe he was trying to get out. I don't know. Oh shit, sorry. I didn't mean to do that, but I did mean to do this because I never changed my body count. Never changed body count once. And I just want to see the stats for myself, really.
Got a higher body count than yours.
Well, should I add this to your body count?
Let's go, girl. And that's how it's done. The chick's kicking butt. That's how it's done. My bad, I had to grab another one. Fill up another one. Fill up another one. So bong bong. I got a high body count than y'all. And okay. The whole body count thing, I think, came from, what the fuck is that? Natural Born Killers. But whenever I try and find clips for it, that's what even started me looking for these. I can't find it. The body count, the marshals, 8 marshals, 6 state troopers, 5 police. Like, I couldn't find that. But I know that's where I got the body count from Dusk Till Dawn. And then, like, going to a bar, and I'd had like 5 drinks up there because it'd be busy. And I realized, oh, this my bodies. Don't take my bodies. I want everybody out here to see what I've been doing the whole time. I don't want you to think I just came in here I've been here. I've been lighting it up, baby. My hands are shaking, but I'm still getting headshots. Boom, headshot. Boom, headshot. Boom, headshot. I'm still getting headshots. My fault. I stole that from Alec Baldwin's finger. Let's get back into the video. And my eyeballs is floating, so I'll be right back.
And what that is that's what epigenetics is. It's this little layer, I guess is the best way to look at it, on top of the DNA that's going to express itself in the plant or in the next generation of the plant. So the two things that create epigenetic changes, or two of the biggest, are methylation and histone modifications. And you use these elicitors to go make those changes. And then there's one last piece, which is chromatin, which is basically, as the cells are being made, chromatin literally takes like a couple of 147 pairs of DNA and crunches them like a meter of DNA into a centimeter. And when these chromatins, oh, that's cool. I didn't see this one. So what a chromatin, when you hit them with these elicitors, as we'll see in a few minutes, and affect these epigenetic changes, when the chromatin's compacting all of the DNA sequence, what happens is these proteins and these amino acids and these different things in the process can either make that chromatin looser, which means it's more prone to transcription. So that means it's going to go forward in the plant. And in some cases, it kind of covers it up and makes it really tight, and then the plant can't use it for transcription to do something else. So basically what these epigenetic changes are is they cover these little pieces of DNA and say, this one's hard to get to, this one's easy to get to. And that's the stuff that lasts for a generation or two. What else?
And it can go in both directions, right? Like you're trying to make stronger, more vigorous generations going forward, but could the reverse also happen where future generations are weaker because someone did the opposite of what you're about to tell us your kind of standard operating procedure is?
A little bit, but not really, because the idea is what an elicitor is it's something that elicits a defense response system in the plant.
Okay, so this is like keratin, whatever, like crab meal. That's the reason for using crab meal. Basically, trying to make the plant think it's under attack to give full phenotypic expression. And I guess he's trying to pack that in a package that will break the protein to spark that into the plant to be able to transfer it epigenetically, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, it's gotta be on Facebook. I can get Facebook because because you had said that before with the Discord. I gotta download Facebook, but yeah, we can definitely do that, Alejandro. I don't mind getting on Facebook at all. What did I say before? What, Discord, Zoom, and Google Meet? That was the three other ways. Diatomaceous earth in the puffer, if you can get any of that, which is, I believe, crushed like oyster shell, seashell. It's like broken glass on plants. It's very fine, it's very dusty, it'll fly up in the air. It's not harmful to humans, but it's like broken glass to insects. And I believe it'll like get in there, like say elbow joints, get in their elbow joints and like the back of their knee, like all their little moving parts. And it basically cuts them up. Every time they move, it's like a deeper cut, like the Tony Stark arc reactor. Like the shrapnel's getting pulled into his heart, so he needs the magnets to pull it out. Like, they don't have the arc reactor. So the shrapnel keeps getting pulled further and further into them every time they move, and they basically bleed out. Now, you can use it as on the soil, like you can pile it up pretty thick, and that will be a barrier for slugs and snails. you can actually use it in the puffer. Like it missed it out pretty well. I'm not sure how much it costs. I inherited one and a bag of diatomaceous earth. Like I said, I got about 40 pounds out of a 50-pound bag, maybe 35 pounds at this point. I've been tapping it. But spraying that gets rid of like ants, any kind of crawling insect. It seems to keep the mosquitoes down as well. And I guess I've cut back on the water because I've added more mulch. I've let the rain, it's very rare that I'll interfere with the rain period. I'll just wait till the next rain comes. Now, there are sometimes this whole month where it doesn't rain. I might intervene, but usually I don't. What's the crap? In a way, I'm trying to stress the plant as much as I kind of naturally can. I'm trying to find a little J I dropped. I guess I dropped it in the chair. I don't know. But let me fire it up real quick. But I'm lulling out. He's teaching me some good information, but I am definitely lulling out. Yeah, my fault. All right, I was learning too much all at once, and I was compressing too much. I needed to expand. Sorry about that. I wanted to snap us out of it, give us a little palate cleanser. Let's go back into the videos, because he's dropping a bomb though. So I must say
something in the plant that's already there. So when PM attacks it,
okay,
naturally the plant's going to try to fight the PM. What the elicitors do is they prime it to get ready for PM, or in the stronger case with SARS, right, systemic acquired resistance, they actually can make the plant think it's getting PM, even without the stress, and then create the
crab meal
and try to fight the plant. So the stuff that we're looking at on these elicitors and how we're making the changes, it's really all defense system stuff.
Okay.
Everything's about defense system. So, yeah. And before we get into that, I just want to go through one thing.
Thank you, Alejandro. Discord. Okay, yeah, that'll be cool.
Right? We want to do controlled stress on the plant.
Controlled stress. Now, I'm sorry. I was thinking about you last week when I was talking. I'm going to say I messed up because I'm the one who's drinking. Why would you believe me? But I was suggesting after the show last week, after the stream, that you call me. Now, maybe I presented it that I was supposed to call you and I never did. I was expecting you to call me after the show because, not to put the onus on you, but I got a lot of stuff to turn off, got these lights to turn off, trying to set up to look at the summary of the live stream and get back into family life because I've been live streaming forever. So it's much more beneficial for me to be like, oh yeah, baby, what's going on? I'm here 100%. Oh, I got a phone call, I gotta go. Than it is for me to come out of here and then still be on the phone. I think that's kind of more of a bad look. So that's why I was asking you to call me. You can do that on Discord, but it seems like I'm under the impression today that you want me to call you on Discord, which I can do after the show. I just want to specify and be clear. I don't want no problems with nobody, and I want to be as transparent as possible. I've seen a lot of BS on the internet, a lot of disingenuous people, and I can't stand it. So I just want to treat people as much as I would want to be treated as possible. Not that I think everyone owes me an explanation, but I can at least clear it up to you here since I didn't talk to you. You can at least know what's going on in my mind. But I definitely am interested in what's going on. I'm definitely interested in everybody's projects, but because I'm interested in so many projects, I guess I don't present that I'm interested because it's so infrequent that I'm contacting everybody. but I'm struggling trying to balance everything. I still haven't figured it out. Everything is like a rush. Nothing is a smooth transition in anything. The work balance, stream life is like rough on me. So I apologize if I seem like I don't care, but I definitely care. I'm like jealous of everybody. So don't sit there and think I'm brushing anybody off. I just am bad at managing multitasking.
Will actually create a response, a defense response to,
we're like halfway done.
To bugs, to PM, to Fusarium, to a whole bunch of different things, even though it's not there. So if you overuse them and you use too much, it's probably going to hurt the plant. You're going to hurt growth. You're going to hurt a bunch of different things. So the idea is apply calculated, moderate stress to the plant. So, and in the case that we're talking about for making beans, is I want to do that in both parents. So when that DNA comes from both parents together, it's already been changed epigenetically so that that plant is going to be designed to have a stronger defense system. So that's really what it is.
Okay. So I think the part that I'm missing in this is that, well, I think what everything is missing is the plant really, you should only try and make the plant do one thing at a time. The way I'm saying I'm bad at multitasking, I know a plant is bad at multitasking. So it's asking a lot to like overcome like underwatering or overwatering while trying to resist pests, while trying to grow as tall as possible, grow your leaves as big as possible in veg, or grow the densest, most fragrant, potent buds as possible if it's in flower. You're asking a lot out of the plant. So what it sounds like they're suggesting is to try and get one thing accomplished at a time. So 1 week of nutrient, 1 week of IPM, 1 week of just water, 1 week of some soil conditioner. Then you start back over, go back to the, just the nutrient. Then go back to the IPM, but to constantly make this plant steroided out is going to have negative effects. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Don't put too much work on the plant. Don't ask it to do more than you can ask yourself. Oh, it's a joint from Tai Chi. If there's a front, there's a back. If there's a top, there's a bottom. So while you're guarding the front, you're vulnerable in the back. While you're trying to hold this thing up, the floor is sinking in. Like you can only do one thing good at a time, realistically. Now, I'm not saying that you'll be horrible doing multiple things, but realistically, just mathematically, the more things you put on the plate, the less energy you can divert to each.
Can we go to elicitors?
I like this jam.
This one?
Yeah, there's a bunch. No, that's pathways. I want the other one, which has, the elicitors. So let's go with elicitors. So there's a few kinds. One is pattern recognition, which I didn't really include here, but the two main ones are SAR and ISR. So SAR is systemic acquired resistance.
Okay.
Those elicitors, which on this screen would be would be regalia and the wintergreen oil, right? Those are definitely SARs. And what the SAR is that acquired resistance, it actually uses a salicylic acid pathway.
Aloe vera.
So those elicitors.
Aloe vera and the willow tips, weeping willow tips, are the highest concentration of salicylic acid there is. I believe the willow tree is what they even derived aspirin from. Like in the beginning, when they first made it, I don't know what it's made out of now. But salicylic acid, that's also what a lot of beauty cosmetics are made out of. Basically, aloe vera plant. That's also in rooting gel, and the ability for your plant to acclimate into the soil is also dependent on how high a concentration of salicylic acid that there is. But aloe vera, the gel of that is like the most cost-effective way to get salicylic acid is aloe vera plant.
Hit that pathway and create changes. And in the SARS are much stronger. So take like a battleship with limited energy. I'm going to say it backwards. Let me go back one step. The ISRs, right, are a little bit softer. So it's induced system response. And the difference between induced system response and the systemic acquired response, now go to the battleship. It's got limited energy, and you're out in the middle of the ocean. In the ISRs, they're a little softer.
I did not expect this to be this long.
What they're doing is they may power up the radar so that it's ready to get something going. And it's got enough power in the ship to actually go through that radar. What the SAR does is these systemic acquired resistance elicitors, they're firing at stuff. They see stuff on the radar screen that's not even there.
All right, I'm sorry this is so boring, but this is how can I comprise this? Because I'm trying to make this kind of fun. As much as it's learning, he is dropping some serious knowledge gems. He's basically trying to give us the method, the science behind how you even get to the point of epigenetic transfer. Now, he's talking about inducing certain materials in order to enact the plant's defenses. And I'm guessing he's talking about once the plant has captured these IPM, integrated pest management. So I don't know why they're calling PM like pest, because that's pest management, but you're calling pest the pest management. Whatever, but you keep saying PM. But I guess once you get this plant to a certain level of immunity, that's when you want to be able to transfer that into the seed. Over time, it will become etched in its DNA. So he's listing the certain inducers to bring out that high immune system. These like genetically healthy plants. Oh shoot, that's what I'm doing. I'm tripping. How the hell do I get back to where I was?
Right. PM's not there, but if you use regalia, it thinks that PM is there, and it's activating an internal response in the plant.
Yeah, let me just let people read what each of these is.
Yeah, good idea, Peter. That's Peter from Future Cannabis Project. So systemic acquired resistance is the plant's broad spectrum immune memory response. SARS is typically triggered by a localized infection or elicitor. So basically a plant actually attacking it or something that will induce its defense system. As a result, the whole plant resistance is a wide range of pathogens that can help to induce this immune system response. Inducing systemic resistance. This is a resistance triggered by beneficial microbes, certain rhizobacteria, things that are in the root, and fungi. In our program, Bacillus subtilis, trichoderma. Okay, we know that one. So yeah, trichoderma is another bad one. I believe that's like yellow, green mold. If you've ever tried to make an IMO, you'll get a bunch of different colors. You'll get basically the white webbing, which is the good, pure, good bacteria. Pick up mulch, you'll see that white webbing. You can pick up a yellow, you can pick up, which is trichoderma. You can pick up red, I'm not sure what that is. You pick up black, which we know is bad. But you can get a myriad of mold in there. Lactobacillus will help to pretty much keep everything coexisting in that environment, but really you're looking for the white microbes in a IMO, but you will get a myriad of colors. These different things can be beneficial. Of course, the black is detrimental, but to keep it in an environment where it is at just a menial level of health. Say us. Everywhere we go, there's germs all around us. It takes a high amount of us to actually get us sick. but we're constantly surrounded by germs. And I think that's what they're talking about doing with these plants. Building up that natural defense, like what the common cold wiped out the Indians. So trying to build up the resistance to where like the common cold wouldn't do that to us. Or do that to the plant. And that's what he's talking about. Once you build that, you know, you can fight off the flu. You can fight off cancer. All the stuff we eradicated. Spotted fever, yellow Rocky Mountain fever. Once a plant can eradicate anything that's going to come in its way, transferring that immune system memory and its defense and its epigenetic makeup, transferring that into the seeds. As we were talking about mixing the sativa and the indicas together for the mold resistance of the sativas onto the highly moldable indicas, and trying to get the best of both worlds, transfer that in the seed, and then we all smoke the shit. Just like that.
And then there's abiotic.
PhD me.
And abiotic is pretty cool because you're not really putting anything into the plant. What you're doing is maybe some drybacks and you drought it a little bit. And then UV.
I'm famous for that.
But we'll talk about the different things. You can also do heat, but I've not done that, and I don't underfeed it or overfeed it. But I think there's definitely scientific papers out there.
I'm sorry, I do have a Facebook. I just don't really get on it. I might as well get into it because I'm trying to be as honest as possible. Pretty much, I had a falling out with everybody I ever knew. And I don't get on Facebook because everybody's on Facebook and they're dying to find out something about my life. So that's the main reason I never really get on Facebook, because I don't want to get in the pleasure of knowing anything. In order to make things, for y'all to see them, it would have to be public, and which means everybody else will see them. So that's why I've created this whole other world of Discord, Facebook. You know, I'm not my real name, even though I totally would be. Just to kind of disassociate myself from everybody I ever knew, and everything that I've got, I built myself in this aftermath. But I would definitely hop on Facebook. Like, I did actually join, I just didn't ever reload the app on my phone to get into it. It's not something that I'm in a habit of getting into. My main habit is realistically getting into Kick, getting into Discord, getting into YouTube. That's pretty much the only three things I really get in. Thumbnails on the app that I got to make thumbnails. But that's really all I'm about on the phone. Now, I will get on the Facebook to talk to y'all, and I did try, Steven, I remember the time that you were trying to show me that meme a couple months ago, and I tried to join the New York State growers. It was something more than that. I want to say outdoor growers, indoor growers. It was something more. It was like 4 parts to it. I tried to get into that. It took me a while to actually get confirmed into it. And I'm sure I probably wouldn't, because my address up there is from Maryland. So I wouldn't let nobody in from New York in no Maryland chat. So why would I expect somebody from New York to let me in, somebody from Maryland into their chat? So I think that was a problem. But yeah, I'll get on Facebook for y'all. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. If y'all are more comfortable with Facebook, it's a lot easier for one person to get out of their comfort zone than 5 people get out of their comfort zone. Oh, shoot. Yeah, he soaks willow branches in water for rooting the cuttings. Yeah, they are. The one again, I remember you talking about Agent Orange and hold on, Cherry Paloma. I have never really gotten any flavors. I get berry, but I don't berry and citrus, but I don't get this. I don't get no cherry. I don't get any like papaya or mango. I don't get these. I'm like, yeah, I'm super jealous of the chat. Blueberry, I do get blueberry muffins. I don't get the super high like knock you out THC. The last time that happened was maybe 3 years ago. A homie of mine brought over Gary Payton, but I don't think I really smoked actual weed in like 3 months. Not 3 months. What am I trying to say? Like a month. For like a month or more, I was just smoking like the trimmings. The stuff I was going to use for hash, I was rolling that up in J's and smoking. And then he brought over some Gary Payton. And I had to like crawl into the bed That was like the last time anything like that happened to me. But I know. I guess the hard part about doing. Let me get into full strength. This is normal. The hard part about me doing all of this is I know what I'm into and I know what I like, and it's hard for me to try and gauge what everybody else is growing for. I basically am trying to grow, like, I guess, like the laziest way, the most natural way, and grow the stuff that I wanted to always smoke. And I do understand that there's a bunch of people, you know, weed has passed me by for the past 25 years, I'll probably say, from my desires and what I want, as far as variety and strains go. But I do try and find things that I think transfer to everybody. It might not be your cup of tea. I got a pretty wide palate for tolerating information. I can literally sit there and listen to people talk for 12 hours about information. Halfway soak it in. I need a break every 4 hours, but I can pretty much soak in everything I heard and create like bullet points, like every 30 minutes, say. And I understand I might not be everybody's cup of tea, but this information is very valuable for, I know everybody out here not only wants to grow the best weed, and I think we've kind of passed that. Everybody wants to have a technique or a method. I think we've kind of passed that. And everybody wants to be able to breed their seeds, I guess, almost to the point of being able to commercially sell it. That's, I think, where we're at now, and we're getting into the nitty gritty. But getting into all this nitty gritty is what got me out of listening to anything. So I understand this might be hard to swallow, but these are the people who are in charge of the strains that we are getting, so it is worth a listen. As much as I don't want to take my medicine, sometimes you got to.
To talk about the strength of many plants going through a systemic partial drought.
This will get formed right after this. We almost done.
You draw it down, and the seeds tend to be stronger, and they tend to be more resistant.
Okay.
So a little bit of partial drought's kind of cool. But so these different pathways,
which are
the top one, right, is it thinks something's happening. So it's actually creating action.
Like
in
the
keratin,
keratin.
Action, it's literally changing. That's what that epigenetic change is. It's actually changing that layer of protein or the add-ons on top of that DNA. And that actually could be passed to the progeny. And
so as we were saying, from the environment, from the environmental pressures, we can take this lemon dominant strain and turn it into a floral strain just from changing the environment on it. It doesn't need this arsenal or this armor, so we can shed that and put on a different one.
Same thing with the induced. But like I said, the induced, not quite as strong, more bacillus than is trichoderma, and then actually chitin kind of fits in this. It depends what kind of chitin you use. So let's go back to the elicitors for a minute. So let's start at the bottom with regalia, because regalia is one of the first things I used.
I thought that's how you did that. You jumped.
It's basically an extract
like 2 feet.
of knotwood. And by the way, everything I've done, and I think there's some few chemicals that you can use.
A monster.
The only stuff that I've looked at is naturally derived. So if it's not naturally derived, then I didn't even look at it. So you treat regalia, whether it's foliar or as a soil drench.
Okay.
And literally for the next 2 weeks, you won't get PM. Like the plant thinks it's getting PM, so it's fighting that. And it's using that SAR pathway. And the pathways that on the previous slide, and we'll jump back and forth a little bit, the pathways are really important because this, I'm going to call them from now on SAR and ISR. But
okay. Let me switch into this real quick. I don't want to. Now, I guess because these people are scientific, we're looking at the plant as a object. They are looking at this almost like a blueprint. Most of these scientific people. And he's talking about the different pathways. Now that automatically makes me think of Nick from Rooted Leaf, and him talking about the different pathways in a way that, with the first one is the nitrogen oxygen exchange in a plant, then the water nutrient uptake in a plant, and what was it, like, I forget which one is the Kelvin cycle, but there's another one going on in a plant, like adjusting to the barometric pressure of the environment and the water intake of the plant. Then he's talking about immune system pathways. Now, things that automatically activate the plant to make it think it's under attack in order to continue on growing on. My man's done. Hey, let's go to Kit. Going activating different pathways, such as the crab meal is the main one I know. He's saying regalia is another one that will basically, I guess, like having, what's the joint, airborne, the zinc and vitamin C to kind of boost your immune system. It's the same thing you're doing to the plant. So taking that boosted immune system and transferring it into the seed. Once again, brand new. I think I already said that.
The SAR pathway is really strong. It's going to make changes to the plant. It can be so strong, actually, that if you use SAR elicitors like the regalia, and go back to the other one for a sec, Peter, please, is the wintergreen oil. Wintergreen oil, you could also use aspirin. It's that salicylic acid. And
okay, I was right about the aspirin thing and the salicylic acid. Okay, I think originally it wasn't aloe vera they were stripping the salicylic acid from. It was the willow. So what you were saying, Wild Bill, about your homie, mentor, I'm sorry, I forget what the exact term was, but using the willow plants for cutting, that's the same thing I heard from Clackamas Scoot and I guess Builder Soil. I'll put them two together because he's kind of the brains or the ideal, the muse behind Builder Soil, Clackamas Scoot, getting with Silva, John Silva, David Silva. I'm sorry, I watch so much UFC and so many Brazilians, their last name Silva. John Silva, damn, I forget. But the natural way, I think, is the way to go. The main reason you get other derivatives or synthetic things is basically somebody trying to cut costs. It costs money to excavate natural things. People want to grow natural things, profits involved, so you want to make something that nobody else can use and you can kind of make yourself at a cheaper cost. Excuse me, my bad, but I feel natural is best. I tried. I know my garden looks rugged. I see a lot of people's on TV. I'm like, damn, that look pretty. They got real mulch. I just like let the plants do what they do, all the pine leaves falling on, and let it be natural. But I try and go with the replicate nature philosophy. If this is what nature's going to do, I ain't going to interfere in that shit. I'm not going to step in what nature's doing, and I seem to have pretty decent results. The potatoes keep coming back year after year. The Jerusalem artichokes come back year after year. It'll be like 50 of them shits out there. I don't even count. It's a ridiculous amount. I hate them shits, and it started with 4. So I'm pretty happy with the way everything goes. And the main reason I try and grow these things instead of the cannabis plants, the additional things besides the medicinal plants, is because I'm trying to transfer the soil from the clay soil that I've been on into more of a garden, vegetable rich soil. And I noticed a difference from the back of it being where I primarily did all the amendments to the front where I did less and less, to how the plants grow. The stuff in the back, thriving. The stuff in the front, we're getting there. But it's a lot of mint. He was saying wintergreen. I think I'm growing spearmint and I forget the other mint, but it's not peppermint. I hate peppermint. But he's talking about, okay, so it's wintergreen and spearmint. I'm growing both of them on each side of the garden. One's wintergreen, one's spearmint. But using that, I guess you can pretty much soak that in water for like, say, 12 hours in the sun in a bucket of water and soil drench that into the plants, and that'll help activate it. So that lets me know, okay, maybe I can cut down on the BioLive. BioLive has a little bit of everything. The crab shell, trichoderma, mycorrhizae, that's the main reason I like using it, especially during flower. And I'm happy with my results of Jadam. I've done Jadam like JLF, vegetable JL, a vegetative JLF, and a fruiting JLF. I like that, but I think I want to go back into the KNF side, which is an FPJ and an FFJ. I like the results of that. The bud seemed a little bit sweeter, a lot more greasy, sticky than I'm seeing with Jadam.
It's using that same pathway. So these literally use the same pathways.
Okay.
Now, what happens is, I think what it is
he like me.
Powder too.
Right. Yeah. Anything with that can convert to salicylic acid is going to use that SAR pathway. So if you look at what is it? I always say it wrong.
Gibberellic.
Yes, thank you. Gibberellic acid. So gibberellic acid uses the same pathway. It uses this salicylic acid pathway, this SAR pathway. So if you use just regalia and you use just wintergreen and you use aspirin, then it crowds that pathway and it's antagonistic to the gibberellic acid. And gibberellic acid is what gives it a whole bunch of growth. So what's going to happen is that if you're using this stuff as elicitors and you've created the progeny, those seeds, the plants that are going to be produced, they're going to have shorter nodes. The nodes are going to be tighter. The seeds will probably take a week or two to germinate instead of 2 or 3 days, because the coat's going to be much more solid, right? You're designing this thing to really fight and put up protection. So that's
all right. My fault. I didn't mean to cut him off like that. I think that was a bad spot. I must have cut him off like a second before. But I think this is also where the silica, what's the other freaking mineral? Magnesium, calcium, all come into play in the seed production part. Instead of using those elements into the bud production part, this is what he's talking about is going to also help to aid to the thicker coat of the seeds, the vigor for it to pop out of the shell, everything that we're kind of looking for, the vigor.
Actually reflected in the seed. So the key with that SAR pathway is if you're going to use it, and I used it, it's going to make changes. It's actually going to make changes in terpenes. So I didn't put a slide in and it was a little complicated, but terpenes, if you think about using regalia or you think about wintergreen and just talk about these things that convert to salicylic acid, they become antagonistic to the gibberellic, right? So what happens is it's not getting as much use. And the gibberellic is growth, and the growth is more associated with terpenes like linalool, myrcene, and limonene.
Shit.
And if you have a plant that's dominant in those 3 terpenes and do just these SAR elicitors to create changes, those terpene levels are going to go down. What's going to happen is caryophyllene is going to go up. Caryophyllene.
Okay, boom, 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 boom. This makes me think of, now I'm not saying this is exactly true. I'm not trying to sit here and say that, but this makes me think of how when people have seeds, like we heard this with the Durban poison, that's the first thing I thought about, it was licorice in the beginning with Mel Frank. And then he ended up having more of a caryophyllene, like terpenoline flavor, like very piney. That's how it ended up being. And it could have been from like what this guy is saying and what I've been alluding to. I just couldn't scientifically make it like this guy. But yeah, if you're in an environment where you don't have these pressures and the need to create these pathways, and he's saying even if you overstimulate these pathways, it's going to kill the natural ability of the plant to express itself in the ways that you're looking for. So I guess the lip balm thing I was saying, you keep putting lip balm on your lips. Eventually, you're going to start producing your own natural oils on your lips because there's no need for it. And that's what he's saying can happen epigenetically. So when trying to boost the defense, the immune system of a plant, you can, in a con, strip it from a lot of expression of certain terpenes.
Probably almost double. Pinene goes up. Pinene, caryophyllene, a little bit of terpinolene, and then camphene.
And that would kind of make sense because a lot of these strains were bred in California, which I think, if I'm believe it to be true, from my anecdotal knowledge of how many fucking pesticides they have on this stuff and they testing for it, it must be highly pesty out in California trying to grow stuff. So I can see what you putting all these pest management things on a plant is going to lose some of its flavor profile and even steer into something totally different.
So if you think about what you're doing, you're taking some substance, some action, and you're putting it into the plant.
17 to 23%. I noticed that the lower THC percentage.
So how does the plant defend itself?
Hold on. Let me read this out because this is pretty nice. Thank you for writing it, Stephen. Honestly, I prefer 17 to 23%. And I'm kind of the same way. I prefer 17 to 23. 28 is the stuff that'll like put me out. I prefer that to be an indica like when I'm going to sleep. I noticed that the lower the THC percentage has a better, longer high. I would agree. Probably because there's more secondary cannabinoids, flavonoids, and esters. Well, yeah. I'm going to say, I guess, let's just try and look at this logically from what a plant is. What he's saying is the reason that the plant can express itself in so many ways to defend itself is because it's stationary, because it can't move. So, okay, because a plant can't move, it is probably going to be able to morph itself into many different ways, unlike us. How was I going to weave this into each other? Static dry sift, like the little gold mining sifter, because I've done that before too. I believe, well, okay, that's what it was. I think you're relying on, like, the plants are going to, like, accentuate what it has best. So if I don't have high THC, let me give you the shit out of this flavor. Let me give you the shit out of this effect. Let me give you the shit out of this color. To compete with something that is high THC. I think in that range, like, that's like the window. I've even had stuff that's 13%. I think like 14%. Like, so my fault. I had somebody wow, it was 14%. And quite honestly, the high wasn't that different. Like, I got high. It didn't last as long. That was one thing I did notice, but it got me by. Most of the stuff I was getting from the dispensary, from what they're saying, wasn't much higher than 24%. Occasionally I would get some 28, 30% stuff, but it had to be on sale. That was very rare. But that seems to be the best of everything. I think in that 17 to 23% range, I have to agree with you. I'll even go as high as 24% because a lot of things fall into that window. You're going to get the best of the high, the flavor, the resin, like everything is going to come together in that window. And I think trying to either go for too much color, go for too much like a higher THC, a higher growth, you're going to cost everything else. It's going to be at a cost to everything else. I guess like $1, you can only split $1 a certain amount of ways. So at some point, you're going to have to bleed into somebody else's budget. But the dry sift, I definitely have done that a bunch of different ways. Bubble hash is very time consuming and it has very sucky conditions. But that seems to be one of the better extractions to me versus putting it in the freezer and putting it through the dry sieve. Now, if that's what you're referring to, that's what I'm referring to. Now, if you're talking about a different method, please let me know. Like, can you actually rub it on the grade? I didn't want to do that because I thought you'd get too much like flower material, which is what you didn't want. You're going more for the hairs and the trichomes by bouncing it. But once you knead it and get everything correct, get that shine kind of on the outside, you can actually pull it apart and see the difference in the, I guess, the oxidization, like what's some sort of milk dud or whatever. You can see the malt, the chocolate outer part, and then the inner part. You can kind of see that in a modified way. And the hash ball, I love doing that. But not really smoking hash by itself. It gets a little too liquidy and clogs up the bowl for me. I like putting it on the top of bud. Like, I guess getting a dime size piece of hash, even if it's just breaking it off and flattening it out and laying that over the top of the bud and getting that extra little bit of high, that extra little bit of body relief, that extra little bit of euphoria, that extra little bit of mind wandering. I really do appreciate that. So let's go ahead. This is the last little bit. We bring it home. That was a 7-inning stretch. My bad.
By adding proteins, by getting
we almost done.
And by the terpenes and the flavonoids. So flavonoids under this process will increase. The density of the trichomes will increase, and you'll also get denser buds.
Oh, that was it, dude? Oh, I did something?
Because you're suppressing the gibberellic acid, which is really designed to really push the plant and get growth out of it. So using that pathway has got a bunch of benefits. It's going to do really well against any type of mold or mildew.
Now, he also mentioned gibberellic acid. And Jesus Christ, your mind really is recording everything. Gibberellic acid is what they use to transfer a male plant to reverse that in order to show female traits. Gibberellic acid for males to reverse them, and some kind of silver, colloidal silver or silver thiosulfate to reverse a female to get that to exhibit male traits. But that's the first thing I thought about with gibberellic acid. I was like, I've heard that before. That's what suppresses the male hormone, the male chromosome in a male plant, and silver, whatever version of silver you use, is what suppresses the female chromosome in the female plant.
It's going to be a very strong plant.
Thank you, High Time.
It's going to start off a little slow. It's going to be perfect plant for doing sea green or scrog.
Oh shit!
Because it's going to have really strong branches and it's going to have tight nodes. So, as a side, and I'm in the planning stage. I'm going to see if I can take some 8 or 10 foot sativas and grow them to 4 or 5 feet. So I think there's a process that heavy on this SAR pathway that can actually make that happen.
Okay.
So the pathway is really important. If you're gonna, like I said, I used it, but you got to realize you're probably changing the profile, the terp profile of what you're trying to get. Now, I personally, I love caryophyllene and I like pinene. So they're all the kind of sativa terps that I prefer anyway.
Yeah, it's like 2 more minutes, I think.
If you were going to do...
You're about to drop a gem bomb.
With lavender, I think you'd be suppressing the terpenes and losing some of the flavor and the smell, just because that's the way the process works. So the next one is ISRs. And basically the ISRs are Bacillus subtilis. I got a real tough time saying this one. It's Amelia liquefactions. I think that's it.
Amelia liquefactions.
And these are products that you can get pretty easily. And then chitin is one. But
chitin, okay.
Using
chitin, that's the crab shell crap I've been talking about. So it is chitin. I kept saying keratin, but yeah, that's the stuff that's in your hair and your nails and stuff, like based off of carrots. It's the hardener, solidifier in your body.
High molecular weight chitin, and you're not using chitin oligosaccharides. oligosaccharides.
Oligosaccharides.
Weight, it stays in the ISR range and doesn't go to the SAR range. So part of what I'm trying to do is show you the different things that have an effect on the plant, what it changes on the plant, and then knowing how and why it changes on the plant. So if I want to keep the terp profile and I want to generate seeds, I'm going to cut down on anything that goes into the SAR category, because I know the SAR category is so strong that it's going to overtake the pathway on.
So that's where the cuttings basically environmentally totally change. It might not just be the fact that it's the environment. It might not just be that. It might not be phenotypical. It might also be the pest management used that will totally change the strain.
The gibberellic acid, and I'm not going to get the same growth that I would before. I'm going to get a more compact growth. I'm going to get a more sturdy growth. I'm going to get tighter buds. I mean, it's not good or bad. It's just, it is what it is because of what you're asking the plant to do by giving it these elicitors. What else is in that category?
Hold on, I got you covered. Okay, yeah, he BSing. So, hold on. You forgot the guy's name, but he wrote a book called Land Raised Gardening. It basically talks about growing your own land raised tomatoes. And I don't know this to be true of the author, but back in the day, the code word for trying to grow like hydroponic cannabis was like, I'm trying to grow tomatoes. Like anything for gardening was tomatoes. And I guess the soil conditions, which you're looking for, are very similar conditions. And that's why. So that might have been a little wink, wink that cannabis. But okay, Land Raised Gardening is the name of the book. Thank you very much, Stephen. Says to open pollinate several varieties of tomatoes or whatever and let nature cull out the weak. Yes, okay, we watched Future Cannabis Project on hazes. And the guy, before he even got into like all this little breeding of hazes, he had talking about growing tomatoes and like the different varieties he had tried to grow himself and the different conditions that he had to make. Sometimes the skins were too thick. Sometimes the skins were too thin. Sometimes they grew too big. Sometimes they needed too much water. Sometimes they needed not as much water as he was giving it. Like just the difficulties of trying to hone in his tomato variety over time in his environment. So I can understand why that would be important. And that's kind of the main reason I'm even going over this. I think he's kind of done with this. Let me see. I got to the 25-minute mark. It seems like we got like a minute or so. Yeah, it's like a minute to go.
So Peter, ask me a question. I'm getting lost a little bit.
Okay, yeah. He about to drop the bomb there.
It's funny. I was gonna smoke as we started, and then I was like.
And this is Peter from Future Cannabis Project, and he's not only asking his own questions, but this might even be a question from the chat. We'll see about that.
I should probably not smoke before we start.
No, you definitely smoke, man. You gotta be relaxed.
Can jump in. He never talks.
Well, so when you were talking about the terpenes, like the caryophyllene and things like that, that's only for the plant that's currently growing. That's not going to affect future.
No, it is.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
so
that's what we're talking about, fool.
It's going to affect the next generation's terpene profile.
Yes, that's why you don't steer it that way.
Right. If you do, if you use the elicitors, so let me go through some of the elicitors. So you got regalia. And regalia goes in the SARS, and it activates the compounds to fight basically PM.
Okay, which is what you don't want.
If you've ever used regalia, you notice the plant grows pretty well. So that's in a SAR. The wintergreen oil is very strong. I think I'm using.
You don't want that.
I think I put it in later. It's tiny.
No wintergreen oil.
Like 1 milliliter. For a gallon, or 2 milliliters for a gallon. It's very, very small. Actually, you know what? I think on the wintergreen oil, I get down to a 0.5 milliliter a gallon. Like it's really strong. But what it does is it boosts the SAR response.
Okay.
And
yeah, which is what you don't want
in the plant, and it's definitely going to change it in the progeny.
My bad. So that was it. That's why I was at the 25-minute mark. So we went through all around the barn to basically get to the point where you don't want to use regalia and you don't want to use wintergreen to induce any kind of pest management, because that will genetically affect your plant's flavor profile. Now, chitin, which is the crab shell, the seafood shell, like seashell meal, is totally fine. That just affects the plant in its state. So I guess versus taking a pill for a lifetime to kind of boost your immune system, this is something that you use anytime something happens, where it will have minimal effects versus lifetime effects and possibly even genetic effect. So don't use regalia, don't use wintergreen to fight pests. You can use crab meal. Boom, there we go. All right, just wanted to bring this out of a palate cleanser, little bulletproof titties, some can crushing titties. And the main reason I'm doing this, screw on top of Yingling, which we will add to our body count. Don't cheat me, baby. Got my little shots just in case. Main reason I did all that, because we was finished with number 2. And we on to number 3, baby. This has been a pretty good experience. This is definitely a happy Father's Day, I must admit. I'm way enjoying today. We are going to go into the breeding, the feminized seed video that I promised you. Yeah, it's been fun, man. I must admit. What a way to spend Father's Day. You feel me? All right, boom. Got this video out the way. Now we're going to... There we go. Had to go to that spot. How to... Where we at? There we go. No, yeah, there we go. This is a great video. We've used this before, as I said. Oh, shoot. Gotta be resized. Hopefully this don't take forever. I was struggling the other day. It took me like 3 hours to resize this video. I have no idea why it came in there so large. Okay. Oh, that looks bad. Too tiny. Oh no, that's almost perfect. That is almost perfect. There we go. It is perfect. All right. So I got the next video loaded up. This is going to be pretty much how to make feminized seeds. Now, I bought these ingredients on Amazon myself. I believe the silver nitrate is how it came. It's like in a powdered form. It is silver. That was, I think, like $23 for maybe like 2 servings, pretty much to make the STS. Then I bought pretty much a like 500 pill size bottle version of silver of thiosulfate, which is pretty much what you mix with the silver nitrate in order to make the concoction to reverse the plants. Now I believe that was about $17 for that size bottle. They come in granular crystals, like sea salt size crystals, and you pretty much mix the 2 of them in water. It's a suspension. You have to really vigorously mix it in order for it to become a solution. Spray it on the plant, but they will separate over time, and you're supposed to store it in the refrigerator, preferably in amber, because you don't want it to be exposed to the light. That helps with the separation, and it helps with losing the potency. But let me flap this on and stop my eyeballs from floating.
Warning.
This channel is for adults only. I do not condone any illegal activities.
Okay, cool.
And everything I record is for educational purposes only. Warning. With that said, I'm gonna teach you how to grow some weed. We're back. It's how we grow. If you enjoy growing, then I know you're going to love breeding. Remember that honeymoon phase where every day you took photos of your plants telling people, yo, look at my plants, look at my plants. Shut the f up. That bliss will be experienced all over again when you produce your own strains, crosses, or selfie seeds. In this series, I'm gonna teach you literally everything I know from generations of in-house pollen chucking and breeding. Once you master these teachings, I promise you, you will never need to buy
I
another
can't run
seed
fast
again
enough.
unless you're a seed junkie like me. Now, there are several methods of breeding, but before we begin, let me break down some fundamentals. In nature, cannabis produces seeds that are 50-50 male and female. A male plant produces flowers that start off looking like balls, and females have white hairs called pistils or stigmas that are attached to calyxes, which later become seed pods when pollinated.
I like this dude. I can't help it. I like this video, and most of his videos are very descriptive like this. He really gives a crap about teaching people. And I want to get my focus more onto this, and I think now I actually have the equipment to do it, so let's do it. Okay. This guy, he does have a YouTube channel, okay. Silver Fume beer glasses. No, I haven't seen Silver Fume beer glasses. I would like to see them, though. That sounds interesting. Just like a pipe. Holy crap. I'll check that out. Holy sh.
When a male plant's flowers mature, the pollen drops and becomes airborne, and it relies on wind to carry it to the pistils. When male pollen successfully attaches to the female pistils, the female absorbs the pollen grains and translates the genetic code in the male pollen and crosses it with its own genetic code.
That's some good photos. This is science.
Production of seeds. These seeds will be ready to harvest in approximately 6 weeks. Each one of these white hairs can result in a potential seed, so the amount of seeds you can produce from a single average-sized plant is in the thousands.
Yeah,
yes,
that's like me.
Thousands.
Off of one plant.
Now, did you notice that I said male pollen? See, the fascinating thing about cannabis is that you could actually turn a female into a male using chemical inhibitors such as colloidal silver or silver thiosulfate. By spraying a female with these solutions, you inhibit the production of ethylene, which instead forces a female to produce male flowers instead of buds. The feminized pollen created from these flowers doesn't have a male chromosome, so using it will produce seeds that are feminized, meaning...
So yeah, he's going to do a real good description of this. I kept this in a treasure chest just to break it back out. Like I said, we watched this a few months ago when we did breeding, maybe like the 4th episode. I was going to say a few. That was wild.
Will be females. Now it's important to note that both weak genetics
that was a nice
and
transition.
extremely long flowering times can also make females turn into males. These plants will also create feminized pollen, but this type of pollen should be destroyed because it carries a gene that makes plants involuntarily turn male for reasons unknown.
Hermaphroditism.
Because of light leaks. Nah, you just got whack genetics. Imagine finding out late in harvest that plants you thought were female unknowingly turned into males and pollinated.
Now that happened to me.
And now, instead of buds,
I got a bud that was like, it started flowering and it was like the hairs on it. Then out of nowhere it started like growing pollen pods and it pollinated something. I got the seeds from it, but it was a male. It was weird.
Anyhow, the process of turning a female to a male is called reversing.
I think I posted it.
And the easiest way to reverse is to use STS, which stands for
STS big body.
Sulfate. A tutorial on how to make it can be seen on howweedgrow.com.
We didn't watch that. I thought we watched. Oh, that was from the video before when we did the breeding thing, like episode 4.
Because
that's why.
These sprays contain chemicals,
it was coming back, baby. My
aren't
bad.
Safe for consumption. Using clones is a better technique. The problem with reversing a single branch is that now all of the buds produced by that same plant must be thrown away.
Okay.
Using clones is easier to isolate, prevents cross-contamination, and you still get to consume the rest of the buds on the mother plant.
Okay.
Another reason is that a single plant this size will produce enough pollen to pollinate a full-grown plant. It's extremely important to understand timelines in order to have your pollen ready by the time
Yeah, that's the main.
you use it.
Now the timeline part is the main thing that I hear about, like timing everything correctly. As Mr. Pheno Hunt, I believe, was mentioning earlier, he pollinates at week 3, and he hasn't had any problems. Now, what I hear with this, like you want to spray immediately when you want to flip the flower, like the day that you flip the flower is when you want to initiate your first spray, and time it to where you, by week 3, you are finished using the spray, which should be anywhere from 3 to 4 applications by that point.
To prevent overstressing your
2 in the
plants,
beginning and 2
have
to
your
make
clones
sure.
fully rooted before you start spraying. It takes about 3 weeks for clones to root, and for photo periods, aim for starting your clones 4 weeks prior to switching to a 12-12 light cycle. For autoflowers, you don't know when they'll start flowering, so to play it safe, cut a clone off as early as possible. I usually aim for the end of week 3 or 4 using
Damn,
my
you doing
best
autos?
rooting techniques. Once your clones are fully rooted, the best time to start spraying photo periods is a week before flip. For autoflowers, it's as soon as you notice pre-flower pistils. Right before lights out, shut off all the fans and put on a pair of gloves and grab your STS. Do not use this spray near plants you don't want to reverse.
Okay.
Either take your plants to a different room, or even better, outside. Give your spray a couple of squeezes to make sure it's working properly, and then you want to aim the spray at all the nodes and the top cola. Nodes are any place on the main stalk where a branch branches out.
Okay.
I just try to spray all along the center of the main stalk, on the front, and on the back, along with any frilly cola sites above. Try to avoid leaves if you can. Every strain has different tolerances for STS, so if you notice leaves burning, you might want to water down your solution. As long as you're using my formula, I find that only 3 applications of STS is all it takes to produce the perfect.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like he was saying 3 applications. I think once you get up to like 5, you're going to start burning the plant from using STS. So some plants really actually don't reverse. I'm hearing this from CSI Humboldt that some plants just refuse to reverse. And I think that is why you get stuck with a lot of clone only sometimes, not to mention, just you don't have the parent plant to mix the plant with.
Hermaphrodite. This means that the plant will have
that happened to me.
Female and male parts, which allows it to self-pollinate and create selfie seeds. Selfie seeds are basically the closest thing to clones in seed form. After your first spray, spray again in 5 days. During this time, you want to flip, and the third spray should be applied about 3 days in. By day 8 of flowering, if you don't notice any balls forming, you could spray a 4th time and the 5th time 5 days after that.
Damn.
Just keep in mind, all strains vary with how much STS is required to reverse, but I find that 5 sprays will fully convert a female to a male. But fair warning, spraying more than 5 sessions can be overkill, and it'll make flowers produce low-quality pollen that usually isn't viable. Once you notice
Now that was the tweezer stuff I was talking about.
balls start to form, I like to contain the plant with an upside-down bottle on top. Make sure there's plenty of holes above, and do not place this pollen producer near any fans. At around the 5th week, the flowers should start dropping pollen, and once you see them open up, you're ready to harvest. Bring the plant to an area without wind and take the whole plant and tilt it into a cylindric container. Tap the main stem to shake the pollen off and rotate it while you're tapping to get every side.
Okay.
Gravity will let the pollen fall to the bottom of the container, and when you're finished, remove any empty flowers on the plant.
Okay.
After your first pollen harvest, you want to minimize the humidity, so make sure the cover you're using now barely has a top. Spray the area where you harvested pollen with plain water to deactivate any unwanted pollen. This harvested pollen is ready to use, and it could be stored by taping a pack of desiccant to the lid and sealing it to let it dry.
Oh, the humidity pack.
You'll be able to harvest more pollen every week, and for prolonged storage, place your pollen in the fridge after it completely dried. I find the best time to pollinate a female is on week 3 or 4 of flowering.
Oh,
at this stage,
back up.
the plants will have
Back up. Week 3. He did add week 4, but week 3 of flower and you don't have a problem. Now this is with feminized, but same difference.
that look like little pom-poms of white hair, and you want pollen to touch each strand of stigma. You could use your finger, a Q-tip, or the container itself.
A brush.
Just make sure they're clean and dry. Again, shut off.
Oh, the other thing I was going to say is to store it. What AK Bean Brains has said is he'll take flour, he'll microwave it for a little bit because like flour still has a residual humidity to it. He'll microwave it for like 30 seconds, a minute to make sure it's totally dry. He'll mix that with the pollen just to kind of stretch the pollen and extend the life of it, suck the humidity out of that, so the pollen, so on and so forth, but be able to liberally apply it better.
All your
visibly
fans
apply
if you're
it.
trying to target specific spots on the plant. I like to pollinate the lower branches because they're usually light deprived and produce the lowest quality buds. Grab your container of pollen and gently touch the pollen, then carefully touch the stigmas. I find that a single branch yields an average of 50 seeds, so keep that in mind when deciding which branches you want to pollinate. Once you're done, spray the area directly below, again, to deactivate the pollen. You also want to label the branches that you pollinated just to make sure you don't mix anything up.
That's a good point. That's a
Wait
real
a
good
couple
point.
of days to turn your fans back on. Now, if you want your whole plant pollinated, just leave the fan on in your tent and sprinkle the pollen directly on top, and the wind will do the rest. After a few days, you might see some stigmas starting to brown, and this is a good indication that
That is
pollination
pollinated.
was successful.
Unbelievable. And we already have a seed.
After 5 days, if you don't see any browning stigmas, I like to do a second round of pollination just in case. Just keep in mind that if it doesn't brown, doesn't necessarily mean that pollination didn't occur. After 3 weeks, you'll see calyxes start to fatten, and inside each pod lies a developing seed. It'll take about 6 weeks from pollination for the seeds to fully mature.
Okay, so like an extra week, 2 weeks, back to what you were saying.
Green or white.
So again, back to what you were saying, Mr. Fino. 2 to 3 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks after the initial pollination at week 3, and he gets the seeds. So kind of same exact time frame.
They should have a shiny, darkened shell, and the
Tiger
best
stripes.
indicator for mature seeds is gently squeezing the pod, and the seeds should easily slip out on its own. I usually harvest my seeds the same time I harvest my buds, but in certain situations, such as late pollination or pollinating autoflowers, there may be times where I chop the non-seeded buds first and let the pollinated buds continue to grow so that seeds fully mature.
Okay.
I'll also dry my seeded buds the same way I dry my regular buds, and I'll harvest my seeds once they're ready for curing. To do so, wear a pair of gloves and just pinch the buds, and
Squeeze
you'll feel
when they
a
pop
tiny
out.
little pebble-like lump that's pretty obvious when you squish. Remove all plant
Thank
matter
you.
that may be stuck on the seeds and let it dry in open air for at least a week before placing it into a Ziploc with a pack of desiccant.
Okay, a week.
If you end up making your
I just
own
leave 'em
strains
out.
or
I ain't
crosses
think
with
about
this
it.
tutorial, share your creations on our Discord. If you value this content, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. If you still need more help, mentorship is available on Patreon. Links in the...
Cool. Thank you, dude. I just want to give me a shine a little bit before we ended it out. That's a work, man. Yeah, thank you. So, that took a little longer than I thought, my bad. But we did get to see it. Oh, really? The dog shit is intersex as well. You cross the dog shit with skunk. Oh shit, okay, okay. That sounds like an interesting cross. Yeah, Mac 1, yeah, that's one that they can't really reverse. That's another good one. I'm glad you brought up the Mac 1. That's like clone only for that reason, that it's like impossible to reverse. That, and I'm trying to think of the other one CSI was saying was like impossible. Was the Sour Diesel? They've tried a few different, so Blue Dream maybe. It was a name, and a recent popular name, and they just, it's impossible to reverse. So okay, Mac, I'm glad you brought that up. That'll definitely definitely an example of something that you might have to do a bunch of sprays to reverse or can't be reversed. It's funny how things get clone only. So let me see where, I don't know where the freak this is. Let me try and figure this out. Let me see. Cause I had, where's it, looting? With everything that's been going on, no, it's not there. It's in, oh, it's just in regular clips? Okay, that's cool. So I plan on talking about this with y'all, all right. Oh, nice, I got a video about 5 pounds. We'll do that too. 5 pounds per light. And where you at? So it wasn't looting? Where's it at? Oh, I didn't download that? What the heck? Is it on, what you call it? On a desktop? Free. Okay, well, that's fine. I don't see it. No big deal. We don't have to have it. I got something even better. I got something even better than that. Something that had me dying. It was hurting me so bad watching this video. Let me see if I get it before I start talking trash. Where is it? I didn't upload it to the video. Okay, boom, that's fine. I still got something for you. Something we can end it on, something we can laugh at, something we can enjoy ourselves with. Think I got it. All right, cool. Queued it up good enough. Good enough for the stuff. So have a happy Father's Day. I gotta go out there and enjoy the real world and do some stuff. Unfortunately. But we will be back tomorrow for Monkey Biz Monday. I'm waiting to get banned on YouTube from it, but we'll definitely be on Kick, Rumble. If everything goes wrong, we get kicked out of YouTube. I'm waiting for it. Like I said, working on the merch. Everybody enjoy themselves. Have a great week. As long as we're growing, it's not that bad. Let us laugh.
So the plaintiff loses, gets nothing. Ms. Howard, what are you thinking?
She lied, and I should have known better when I seen her hair.
Ms. Reese?
Ah!
I don't know what you want. I don't know how to help.
Watch, it's gonna come down to silly. It's like it gives me a brush and shit. Where am I?
What the?
I'm in front of my damn house. I forgot why I was there.
Look at you, baby. You so pretty. Look how pretty you is. Ooh, what your on? Just think about it. Look at that. 9 years ago, you was in my balls.
Do you love her?
Yes.
Are you willing to do whatever it takes to stay with her?
Nah.
Why would you call me a smite?
Because you talking about smutting. You talk about selling fucking pussy, and you got a fucking retard sitting next to you drinking out a fucking bottle. Wake that bitch up. What is wrong with you? The fuck is wrong with
My bad, that might have been a little too ratchet, but that was funny to me. Steven, Wild Bill, Alejandro, Dank Tech, Mr. Fino, Kick, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch. I enjoyed the hell out of myself. Happy Father's Day. I hope I made y'all laugh. I hope I educated y'all somewhat. Plant plasticity, I won't forget. We will talk about that. Y'all enjoy yourselves. Have a great rest of the day. Happy Father's Day, y'all. Thank you very much. Where we at? Where's the baby at?
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Don't be such a square. Everybody who's anybody drinks.
Smoke perp to the haze, smoke haze to the cheese, smoke cheese to the kush, smoke kush to the sour diesel, and I ain't feeling anything. Chief, I smoke perp to the haze.
How are we supposed to follow that?
To the cheese, smoke cheese to the kush, smoke kush to the sour diesel.
My dog stepped on a bee.
And I ain't feeling Chief, I smoke perp to the haze, smoke haze to the cheese, smoke cheese to the kush, smoke kush to the sour diesel, and I ain't feeling
Brutal Monkey is right. All the uploading takes hours.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
And now,
Impressive. Most impressive.